Story 1. My brother tricked my fiancée on the day of our wedding into believing I cheated. They believed him. But 3 years later, my sister called me with news that changed everything. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Sup, Reddit. So this happened a few years back, but I'm finally ready to talk about it. Fair warning, this gets wild and honestly sounds like something straight out of a movie, but I swear this actually happened to me. You know how they say family is everything? Yeah, well, sometimes family's the one holding the knife behind your back. My brother taught me that lesson the hard way. This whole mess started way before I, 29 male, even met my ex-fiancée Candace. It started with my brother Zach and his ex-girlfriend Haley. Now Zach wasn't just dating this girl. Dude was straight up obsessed. Like, we're talking fatal attraction level stuff here. He'd been with Haley for 3 years and was already planning their whole future together. Had the ring picked out. Our whole family knew about it because he wouldn't shut up about how perfect she was. Haley was decent looking, I guess, but nothing special to me. Zach thought she was God's gift to Earth, though. The guy would literally plan his weekends around her work schedule and got genuinely upset if she wanted to hang out with her girlfriends instead of him. Looking back, Haley never seemed as into him as he was into her. During family dinners, she'd be polite but distant. She'd check her phone constantly and always had some excuse to leave early. Zach would make these grand romantic gestures, surprise trips, expensive jewelry, elaborate date nights, and she'd just seem bored. But Zach was blind to it all. The one person who saw through this whole thing was my sister Lisa. She's 2 years younger than me, works as a nurse at the county hospital, and has always been the most level-headed person in our family. Lisa knew it from day one, said there was something fake about her, like she was always performing instead of just being herself. That girl is playing Zach like a fiddle, Lisa told me once. And when she's done with him, it's going to get ugly. Then came the family barbecue from hell. This was supposed to be our annual 4th of July thing. Whole extended family, neighbors, the usual crowd. Zach had been hyping it up for weeks because he was planning to propose. Everything was going normal at first. Uncle Jim was cracking bad dad jokes, Cousin Dave was showing off on the volleyball court, and Zach was being his usual over-the-top self. Then that moment came. Suddenly, when the noise started fading, Zach got on one knee in front of everyone. As we all watched waiting for Haley's word, she did something unexpected. She just snapped. She just stood up and just dropped this bomb on everyone. I can't do this. I don't love you, Zach. I never have. I've been trying to force it because you're a good guy, but I can't marry someone when I have feelings for someone else. The whole backyard went dead silent. Even the neighbor's dog stopped barking. Zach just stared at her like she'd spoken in a foreign language. Then she looked directly at me and said the words that would basically ruin my life. I'm in love with your brother. I had no idea what to say. We'd only ever had polite small talk at family events. That's it. But Zach? Dude completely lost his mind. Started yelling about how I must have been sneaking around behind his back, how I was a backstabbing piece of shit, all this crazy stuff. I tried to explain that I had literally no idea Haley felt this way, that I'd never encouraged it, never even thought about her like that. Didn't matter. In his head, I'd somehow stolen his girl, and that was that. Haley tried to calm things down, explaining that it wasn't anything I'd done, that she'd just developed feelings over time. But Zach wasn't hearing any of it. He stormed out, tires screeching, the whole dramatic exit. Haley left right after him, crying and apologizing to everyone. Lisa was the only one who came up to me afterward. "This isn't your fault," she said. "That girl was never going to marry him, and deep down he knows it. That should have been the end of it, right?" Girl realizes she's not into her boyfriend, makes a messy confession. Everyone moves on with their lives. But Zach? This dude turned it into his personal mission to destroy me. So here's where things get really messed up. After Haley's confession, I genuinely thought Zach would cool off after a few days. We'd had fights before. What brothers haven't? And he'd always gotten over it. First thing Zach did was blow up Haley's phone for about a week straight. She showed me some of the texts later. Yeah, she kept trying to contact me after the barbecue thing, but I shut that down real quick. This dude was sending her like 30 messages a day. Everything from begging her to come back to calling her every name in the book. Real nice guy behavior, you know? When Haley finally blocked him, that's when he turned his attention to me. At first, it was just your typical sibling revenge stuff. He'd accidentally eat food I'd left in my parents' fridge when I visited. He'd conveniently forget to pass along messages when people called the house looking for me. Small, petty garbage that I mostly ignored. But then he started getting creative, and that's when I should have known this wasn't going to blow over. He went after my social circle first. He'd leave passive-aggressive comments on my posts. Stuff like, wow, that's funny coming from you, or interesting take from someone who... Then he'd delete them before I could screenshot. My best friend Tom started acting weird around me first. We'd been tight since high school, played on the same intramural basketball team in college, hung out every weekend, the whole deal. Suddenly Tom's acting all distant, giving me one-word answers, declining invites to hang out. I finally cornered him and asked what his problem was. Turns out Zach had been feeding him this story about how I'd been talking trash about him behind his back for years. Tom believed it because, and I quote, "Why would your own brother lie about something like that?" This became Zach's signature move. He'd tell people I'd said something awful about them, always with just enough specific details to make it believable. None of it was true, but Zach knew exactly what buttons to push with each person. The work thing was what really got to me, though. I was working at this small tech company right out of college, maybe 30 employees total. Great job, good pay, cool boss who treated everyone like adults. I was actually up for a promotion to team lead, which would have been huge for a guy only 2 years out of school. Then weird stuff started happening. My boss mentioned in passing that he'd heard I was interviewing at other companies. I wasn't. A coworker asked me why I'd told people the company was poorly managed and heading for bankruptcy. I never said that. It took me months to figure out that Zach had been calling the office, pretending to be different people. A recruiter who'd spoken with me, a friend who was concerned about things I'd said, even a fake client who claimed I'd been unprofessional. This sociopath was literally creating fake identities to sabotage my career. The promotion went to someone else. My boss started treating me differently. The whole office vibe changed, and I couldn't figure out why everyone suddenly thought I was this arrogant, disloyal employee who talked trash about the company. When I confronted Zach about it, he played dumb. "I don't know what you're talking about, man. Maybe people are just seeing the real you now," with this smug smile that made me want to punch him in his stupid face. I tried going to my parents, thinking they'd talk some sense into him. Big mistake. They'd already bought into his narrative that I was this manipulative person who'd stolen his girlfriend and was now playing victim. Mom actually said, "Well, honey, maybe this is karma for what you did to Haley's relationship." What I did? I literally didn't do anything except exist in the same family as a girl who had feelings I didn't ask for and didn't want. But according to my parents, Zach was the victim here. I was just causing drama and needed to take responsibility for my actions. The only person who saw through Zach's bullshit was Lisa. She'd call me after family dinners where Zach would put on his victim act, telling me not to listen to their crap. She tried to defend me to our parents, but they'd already made up their minds. Okay, guys, this is where the story really goes off the rails. This is where Zach's revenge went from petty sibling rivalry to straight-up psychotic. I met Candace about 2 years after the Haley disaster. By then, I'd basically written off my relationship with Zach and was trying to move on with my life. I'd gotten a new job at a different company. The old one never really recovered from all Zach's sabotage, moved to my own apartment across town, and was actually doing pretty well for myself. She was funny, smart, had this dry sense of humor that matched mine perfectly. She grew up in a small town about an hour outside the city, came from this big Irish family where everyone talked over each other and had opinions about everything. Complete opposite of my family's passive-aggressive nonsense. We dated for about a year and a half before I proposed. She said yes before I even finished the question. We both had stable jobs, similar life goals. It felt right. Planning the wedding was actually fun, which everyone told us was rare. Candace's family welcomed me immediately. For the first time in years, I felt like I was part of a real family again. My parents were supportive too, which surprised me. They seemed genuinely happy that I'd found someone. Lisa was thrilled for me. She loved Candace from the moment they met, said it was obvious how happy we made each other. She helped with wedding planning, threw Candace a bridal shower, even stood up as one of my groomsmen since we were doing a mixed wedding party. Having her support meant everything to me. Zach, on the other hand, had been suspiciously quiet during the whole engagement period. He showed up to family dinners when I brought Candace around, made polite conversation, even congratulated us when we announced the wedding date. I should have known something was up. This was way too normal for him. But I was happy, you know. I wanted to believe that maybe Zach had finally moved on, found some peace, and decided to let the Haley thing go. The wedding was set for a Saturday in June at this venue about 20 minutes outside town. Nothing too crazy, maybe 80 people, outdoor ceremony, reception in the same building. Candace wanted something simple and elegant, and honestly, I would have married her in a gas station bathroom if that's what she wanted. We decided to keep it traditional, not seeing each other the night before the wedding. Candace was staying at her parents' house with her bridesmaids, and I was supposed to be having some bachelor party that my friends had planned. Except I wasn't really feeling the whole party scene. I was nervous, excited, just wanted some quiet time to think about everything. So instead of hitting up bars with the guys, I got a room at this hotel near the venue. Told everyone I just wanted to chill out, watch some TV, get a good night's sleep before the big day. My friends respected it, even turned off my phone around 9 p.m. because I didn't want any distractions. By the time I woke up the next morning, got dressed, and headed to the venue, it was already over. I just didn't know it yet. This is the hardest part of the story to write. Even now, years later, thinking about that day makes me feel sick. I showed up to the venue about 2 hours before the ceremony was supposed to start. I was actually in a great mood, thinking about how in a few hours I'd be married to the love of my life. The parking lot should have been my first clue that something was wrong. Way too many cars for that early in the day, and I could see people standing around in groups, talking in those hushed, serious voices that usually means something bad had happened. I walked into the venue. The decorations were still up. The flowers were in place, but there was this atmosphere of, I don't even know how to describe it, like walking into a your own funeral. Candace's maid of honor, Maria, saw me first. The look on her face was pure disgust. Not sadness, not disappointment, disgust. She walked right up to me and slapped me across the face, hard enough that my ears rang. "How could you do this to her? How could you do this to Candace?" she screamed. Everyone in the room turned to stare at us. Candace's family, my groomsmen, random guests who'd already arrived, all of them looking at me like I was some kind of monster. I had no idea what she was talking about. I asked where Candace was, said I needed to talk to her, figure out what was going on. Maria laughed, this bitter, angry sound that made my skin crawl. "She's gone, you piece of trash. She's gone, and she's never coming back. She knows what you did." That's when Zach stepped out of the crowd. My own brother, wearing his groomsman tux, looking like he was attending my execution instead of my wedding. And he had this satisfied expression on his face. "I'm sorry, man," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I didn't want to be the one to tell her, but I couldn't let her marry you without knowing the truth." He pulled out his phone and started showing people photos. I couldn't see them from where I was standing, but I could see everyone's reactions. Shock, disgust, anger. Whatever Zach was showing them, it was convincing as hell. "This is Jessica," Zach announced to the room. "She came forward because she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. She's been seeing my brother for 4 months, including last night." A woman stepped forward from the back of the room. Mid-20s, blonde hair, wearing a dress that was way too formal for someone who was supposedly just dropping by to confess an affair. She looked nervous as hell, kept glancing at Zach like she was waiting for him to tell her what to say next. But she played her part perfectly. "I'm so sorry," she said, "and I'll give her credit." She sounded genuinely upset. "I never meant for it to go this far. He told me he was going to call off the wedding, that he was going to leave her for me. When I found out he was still going through with it, I couldn't stay quiet. I tried to speak, tried to explain that I'd never seen this woman before in my life, but nobody wanted to hear it." Zach showed them text messages between me and Jessica, intimate photos that supposedly proved we'd been together, even a video that he claimed showed me and her together the previous night. The worst part was watching my own parents just stand there in silence. They didn't defend me, didn't question Zach's story, didn't even look like they were surprised. My mom actually nodded along when Zach explained how disappointed he was to have to expose his own brother. I kept asking to see this supposed evidence, demanding that someone show me these photos and messages that supposedly proved I was cheating. But Zach played it perfectly. He said he'd already shown everything to Candace and her family, that they'd seen enough, that there was no point in humiliating me further by making it public. Someone mentioned calling Candace, trying to get her to come back so we could work this out. That's when Zach dropped the final bomb. She doesn't want to see him. She made that very clear. She said if he tries to contact her, she'll call the police. The room went completely silent after that. Even I didn't know what to say. The woman I was supposed to marry in less than 2 hours thought I was a cheating scumbag. I stood there in my tux, in front of all our friends and family, and watched my entire life crumble. The wedding was off. Candace was gone. Everyone I cared about thought I was a lying, cheating piece of garbage. And my own brother was the one holding the match that burned it all down. I didn't even fight it at that point. What was the point? Nobody was going to believe me over the evidence Zach had manufactured. Nobody was going to take my word over the testimony of his mystery woman. The damage was done. I walked out of that venue and drove straight home. Didn't talk to anyone, didn't try to explain myself, didn't even take off the tux. Just sat in my apartment and stared at the wall, trying to process what had just happened. My phone started ringing around dinner time. Candace's number. For a split second, I thought maybe she'd realized this was all a setup, that she wanted to hear my side of the story. I answered on the first ring. "Don't ever contact me again," she said. Her voice was cold, completely different from the woman I'd fallen in love with. "If you call me, if you text me, if you come to my house or my work, I will call the police. We're done. Forever." She hung up before I could say a word. But then Zach decided to show up. He showed up at my apartment around midnight, still wearing his tux, looking like he'd just won the lottery. I opened the door. He smiled at me. Actually smiled. "How's it feel?" he asked. That's when something inside me snapped. All the years of his petty revenge, all the lies, all the manipulation, it all came rushing back at once. I grabbed him by his shirt collar and shoved him against the hallway wall. "You destroyed my life," I said through gritted teeth. "You destroyed my life over some girl who never even wanted you." Zach laughed while I was choking him against the wall. "And I'd do it again," he said. "You took everything from me. Haley, my future, my happiness. So I took yours. Fair trade." I wanted to beat the living hell out of him right there. I wanted to smash his face into the wall until he took it all back, until he admitted what he'd done to everyone who'd believed his lies. But I knew that's exactly what he wanted, for me to prove I was the violent, unstable person he'd painted me as. So I opened my door and shoved him out. He walked away whistling like he'd just had the best day of his life. Now here's the thing. I got stupid. I should have recorded that conversation, but anger got me. I wasn't thinking straight and all I saw was red. So I did one thing which seemed like the best solution at that time. I walked away and moved on. I spent the next 3 years trying to rebuild my life, and mostly succeeding. Got a better job, moved to a different city. I was doing okay. The only person from my family I stayed in contact with was Lisa. She'd moved out to Denver for work, but we talked every few weeks. She never bought into Zach's version of events, and she kept me updated on the family drama I was missing. According to Lisa, Zach and Candace had gotten together officially about 6 months after my ruined wedding. Yup, you heard that right. They moved in together, got married within a year, had a kid pretty quickly after that. From the outside, it looked like the perfect family. Zach had gotten everything he wanted, and Candace seemed happy with her choice. But Lisa saw through it from day one. "He doesn't love her," she told me during one of our calls. "He just loves that he won. The second the novelty wears off, this whole thing is going to implode." She was right. Zach wasn't the devoted, loving husband. Once he had her locked down, he basically stopped trying. He'd work late constantly, blow off family events, forget anniversaries and birthdays. Classic behavior of someone who was only interested in the chase, not the actual relationship. Lisa started getting weird phone calls from Candace, asking if Zach's behavior was normal, if he'd always been so distant and selfish. Lisa tried to stay neutral at first, but it was getting harder to ignore the obvious problems in their marriage. Then last month, she called me with news that changed everything. "It's all falling apart," she said. "Candace found out Zach was cheating. She's filing for divorce and Zach just ran away to God knows where. But you're never going to believe who he was cheating with. Jessica, the same woman who'd helped Zach frame me at my wedding, had been sleeping with him behind Candace's back for years, possibly even before my wedding day. The irony was so perfect. The same woman Zach had used to destroy my relationship had been destroying his the entire time. But here's where it gets interesting. When Candace confronted Jessica, expecting her to deny everything or at least show some shame, Jessica broke down and confessed everything. Not just the affair, everything. The fake photos, the staged text messages, the video, the whole elaborate setup Zach had orchestrated to ruin my wedding. Lisa had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. When Candace called her, sobbing and asking for my contact information, Lisa was ready. "I need to see him," Candace had told Lisa. "I need to apologize. I need to make this right somehow." That's when I realized what I needed to do. "I've got a plan," I told Lisa. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Lisa asked. "I'm thinking it's time for some justice," I said. "I'm in," she said immediately. "Whatever you need me to do." I had Lisa reach out to Jessica through a mutual friend, posing as someone who just wanted to understand what had happened. We set up a meeting at a coffee shop in Denver, with Lisa claiming she was trying to help Candace process everything and needed to hear Jessica's side of the story. I flew out to Denver the next week. Lisa had briefed me on exactly how to play this. Sympathetic, Not accusatory, just a brother trying to understand why his family had fallen apart. Jessica was a mess when we met her. She'd obviously been crying, looked like she hadn't slept in days. The guilt was eating her alive, and it was written all over her face. Lisa played it perfectly, acting like the concerned sister who just wanted to help everyone heal from this tragedy. She asked Jessica to walk us through exactly what had happened, claiming it would help Candace understand how things had gone so wrong. Jessica spilled everything. How Zach had approached her 8 months before my wedding, offering to pay her $5,000 to help him teach his brother a lesson. How they'd staged all the photos and text messages over the course of several weeks. How he had coached her on exactly what to say and when to say it. But the real bomb came when she admitted that she and Zach had been hooking up the entire time they were planning the setup. He told me he was going to leave Candace after a few years anyway, Jessica said, crying openly now. He said once he proved that he could take anything away from his brother, he'd be done with her too. It was always supposed to be temporary. Lisa kept her talking for over an hour, getting every detail of Zach's plan on record. By the time we left that coffee shop, we had enough evidence to bury him. The next morning, I filed a police report for fraud and conspiracy. I also contacted a lawyer about filing a civil lawsuit for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and interference with contract. Apparently, my ruined wedding counted as that. When the detective assigned to my case heard Jessica's confession, he actually whistled. "This is one of the most elaborate revenge schemes I've ever seen," he said. "Your brother put a lot of work into destroying your life. Problem is, he's in the wind now. His wife says he cleaned out their joint account and hasn't been home in a week." Zach knew this was all going to come out eventually. He'd been planning his escape route just like he'd planned everything else. But running just made him look guilty as hell. And it gave us time to build an airtight case while he was hiding wherever cowards go to hide. The detective issued a warrant for Zach's arrest, but warned me it might take time to track him down. While we waited for Zach to slip up, Candace filed for divorce and got emergency custody of their daughter. She also provided additional evidence to support my case. Text messages between her and Zach, financial records showing payments to Jessica, even the original fake photos he'd shown her. My parents finally called me after they learned about the police investigation. They were devastated. Couldn't believe their good son had been capable of something so calculated and cruel. They begged me to come home, to let them make it up for me. I told them we'd see what happened after Zach faced justice. Some bridges can't be rebuilt until the person who burned them down pays the price. I had evidence, I had witnesses, and I had 3 years of rage motivating me to see this through to the end. The hunt for Zach was just getting started. 4 months after Zach disappeared, and let me tell you guys, the legal system moves slower than a government DMV on a Monday morning. But we've been busy building what my lawyer calls the most documented case of sibling revenge he's ever seen. First off, Jessica agreed to cooperate fully with the prosecution in exchange for immunity. Smart move on her part, because the alternative was potentially facing conspiracy charges herself. Turns out Zach had paid her way more than the initial $5,000. Over the 8 months they'd spent planning my destruction, he'd given her nearly $15,000 in consultation fees for helping perfect their little revenge plot. The paper trail was extensive, and it proved this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign. My lawyer is this old-school prosecutor turned defense attorney who's seen every kind of case you can imagine. When I first showed him Jessica's recorded confession, he actually laughed. "Your brother is either the dumbest criminal I've ever seen, or he thought he was so smart that he'd never get caught," Dave said. Either way, he's screwed. The civil lawsuit moved faster than the criminal case. Since Zach had fled, the court allowed us to proceed in absentia, meaning we could move forward without him being physically present. We filed for damages, including lost wages, emotional distress, and punitive damages for the sheer maliciousness of what he'd done. But then Candace reached out to me directly. "I need to see you," she said, during our first phone call in years. I agreed to meet her. Lisa came with me for moral support. Candace looked like hell. She brought their daughter Emma with her. The little girl was quiet, well-behaved, but you could see the confusion in her eyes. "I know nothing I say can fix what I did to you," Candace started, and she was crying before she even finished the sentence. "I destroyed your life based on lies, and I'll never forgive myself for that." She explained how Zach had manipulated her. I listened to her apology, and while I appreciated it, I could tell there was something else. Then she continued, "I want to know if there's any chance we could try again," she said quietly. "I know it would take time. I know you'd need to learn to trust me, but we were so good together before Zach destroyed everything." I looked at this woman who had once been the love of my life. What we had was destroyed years ago. "I know, but please just give us a chance." No, Candace. It's in the past now. I moved on. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I explained that this wasn't about holding grudges or being unable to forgive. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed no matter how much both people want it. Before we left, I looked at Emma again. This innocent kid had no idea that her father was a sociopath who destroyed multiple lives for fun. She's going to need stability, I told Candace. Don't screw up. Meanwhile, the criminal case was moving forward. The prosecution had brought in digital forensics experts who analyzed Zach's computer and phone records. They found drafts of the fake text conversations going back months, and even a folder on his laptop labeled Operation Payback with detailed timelines and notes about the plan. Zach had been covering his tracks. He stayed off social media, avoided using credit cards, or anything that could be traced. The police thought he might be working under the table somewhere, but had no solid leads. The criminal prosecutor, Sarah, told me they were building charges that could put Zach away for up to 10 years if convicted on all counts. This isn't just a family dispute, she explained. Your brother committed serious crimes that affected multiple victims over several years. The court takes this kind of systematic harassment very seriously. My parents tried to reach out to Zach, hoping to convince him to come home and face the charges. They were still in denial about the extent of what he'd done, thinking maybe if he apologized and made amends, this could all be worked out. I had to set them straight on that. Zach destroyed my life for fun, I told them. This isn't something you apologize your way out of. He's going to prison, and he deserves every day of it. By month 5 of the investigation, we had enough evidence to convict Zach 10 times over. The only problem was finding him. But I knew Zach better than anyone, and I knew his weaknesses. He was arrogant, he needed to feel superior, and most importantly, he couldn't resist the urge to gloat about his victories. Sooner or later, he'd slip up. Justice was coming for him. It was just a matter of time. 7 months in, justice has finally been served. And holy shit, was it worth the wait? Zach finally got caught 4 weeks ago in Tucson, Arizona, of all places. He'd been working at a construction site under a fake name, living in some sketchy motel, basically existing like the fugitive piece of garbage he'd become. What got him caught? His own stupidity, of course. Apparently, he'd been drinking at some dive bar and started bragging to strangers about how he'd outsmarted everyone. Someone at the bar thought he sounded sketchy and called the local cops. When they ran his fake ID, it came back flagged, and boom, he was in handcuffs. The call from Detective Morrison was one of the best moments of my life. We got him, he said. Your brother is sitting in a holding cell in Arizona, and he's not going anywhere this time. They flew him back in shackles. The trial moved fast once he was back. His public defender tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't having it. Your client had 6 months to come forward and take responsibility, Sarah told them. Instead, he chose to flee and waste taxpayer money on a manhunt. We're going to trial. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. 2 hours. They came back with guilty verdicts on all counts: conspiracy, fraud, identity theft, harassment, criminal impersonation, and something called aggravated stalking, because the harassment had gone on for multiple years. The judge sentenced him to 8 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation. He also ordered Zach to pay $175,000 in restitution, $75,000 to me for damages, and $100,000 to cover court costs and the manhunt expenses. After the sentencing, I did something. I put in a request to visit Zach in prison. He picked up the phone on his side of the glass, and for a minute we just stared at each other. Then he said what I'd been waiting to hear for almost 5 years. I know why you're here. Do you? I asked. You want to gloat? You want to see me suffer? I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Actually, Zach, I don't need to tell you anything. Your life speaks for itself. Zach's face was getting red, but I wasn't done. You think you've won? I still took everything from you. I destroyed your wedding, your relationship with Candace, You took one thing from me, Zach. One. And in return, you lost everything. Your wife, your daughter, your career, your freedom, your future. You're going to spend years of your life in prison. I looked him directly in the eye. Haley never loved you. Candace figured out who you really are and left you. Your own parents are ashamed of you. And me? I'm living my best life while you rot in a cage. So tell me, brother, who really won here? Zach just stared at me, and for the first time in our entire lives, he had nothing to say. I stood up to leave, but I had one more thing to say. Oh, and Zach? Haley lives in Seattle now. She's married, has 2 kids, seems really happy. I looked her up on Facebook last week. She doesn't even remember your name. I hung up the phone and walked away, leaving Zach sitting there in his orange jumpsuit, finally understanding that his obsession had cost him everything. Finally, I thought that was the end of it. I was done with this whole nightmare. But apparently the universe wasn't done screwing with me yet. What happened next is so insane that I'm still trying to process it. So after my last meeting with Candace, I figured that was it. We'd both said what we needed to say, got our closure, end of story. I was wrong. Last week, I'm working from home, minding my own business, when I hear a car door slam outside my apartment. Then I hear a kid crying, which gets my attention. I look out my window and nearly have a heart attack. There's Candace's car in my parking lot, and she's pulling that little girl out of the back seat. The kid is crying hysterically, clearly has no idea what's going on, and Candace looks like she's about 5 minutes away from a complete mental breakdown. Before I can even process what I'm seeing, Candace is marching up to my door with her daughter in tow. "I know you're in there," she's yelling. "I can't do this anymore." I open the door because the neighbors are starting to come out and stare. The second I open it, Candace pushes past me into my apartment, dragging Emma behind her. "She's your problem now," Candace says, and I swear to God, guys, she sounded completely unhinged. I never wanted to be a mother. I only had her because Zach wanted a kid, and now he's in prison, and I'm stuck with this mess. The little girl is looking back and forth between us crying. I'm standing there in complete shock, trying to figure out what the hell is happening. Candace starts ranting about how she can't handle being a single mom, how the kid reminds her too much of Zach, how she needs to start fresh without any reminders of her old life. "Why are you bringing her to me?" I ask, because none of this makes any sense. "Because you're the only decent man I know," she says. "Zach is a piece of garbage. My dad lives across the country, and I don't trust any of the other guys in my life." "Candace," I said, "I can't just take your daughter. That's not how this works. She needs her mother." "I don't want to be her mother anymore," she screamed, loud enough that the kids started crying even harder. "I'm done. I'm moving back in with my sister in California, and I'm not taking her with me." At this point, I'm realizing that Candace has completely lost it. I told her she needed to leave, that she needed to get help, that abandoning her child wasn't a solution to anything. But she was already headed for the door. "If you won't take her, I'll just leave her at a fire station or something," she said. "At least then she'll be someone else's problem." That's when I knew I couldn't let her walk out that door. Not with that kid. So I called the police. She tried to leave, but I blocked the door until the cops showed up. When they arrived, the whole situation became a nightmare of paperwork, phone calls, and social services involvement. Long story short, Candace was deemed unfit to care for her daughter and was placed under psychiatric evaluation. The kid needed somewhere to go while they figured out a long-term placement. Since I was the only stable adult present who had any connection to the situation, and since my parents vouched for me when social services called them, I ended up with temporary emergency custody while they worked out a permanent solution. That was 2 weeks ago. Emma is still here. My parents have been helping out, visiting every day. Candace is in some kind of inpatient treatment facility and isn't allowed to make decisions about Emma's care right now. Emma's been through hell. Her dad abandoned her, her mom tried to give her away, and now she's living with someone she barely knows in a completely unfamiliar place. But she's tougher than she looks. She started sleeping through the night, and yesterday she asked if she could help me make pancakes. I don't know what's going to happen long term, but we contacted Candace's parents, and there's talk they're applying for permanent custody since they're blood relatives and have the stability to provide for her. The one thing I know for sure, Emma deserves better than the family she was born into. Whether that ends up being me, my parents, or Candace's parents, she's going to get it. That's a promise. So that's it for now, Reddit. Thanks for reading this whole insanity. Here's to better days ahead. Story 2. My wife's parents made me sign a terrible prenup. Then, they go bankrupt and wife cheats on me. So her parents' greedy prenup totally screws her over. Sup, Reddit. This is the story of how my wife of 20 years cheated and got screwed by the same prenup her parents forced me to sign. Throw away because my kids browse Reddit. Here's what went down. So picture this. 20 years ago, I, 48 male, was dating this girl Fiona for 2 years. Head over heels, stupid in love. Think I'm hot shit because I just got promoted to logistics coordinator at a manufacturing plant. Making decent money, driving a Honda that was basically a glorified closet with wheels, living in a studio apartment with a Murphy bed. Her parents? Complete opposite end of the spectrum. Dad's some finance guy who wears those glasses that cost more than my monthly rent. Mom drives a Mercedes that she replaces every 3 years for safety. They live in one of those neighborhoods where every house looks like it was designed by the same architect who has a serious hard-on for columns and circular driveways. First time I meet them, I show up in my best khakis and a button down from Target. Her dad gives me this handshake that feels like a job interview. You must be the operations fellow, he says, like I work in a coal mine. Buddy, I coordinate logistics, not mine diamonds with my bare hands. Dinner was this whole production. Crystal glasses for water, like we're dining with the queen. 3 forks. Who needs 3 forks? Her mom asks me about my 5-year plan and investment portfolio. Lady, my investment portfolio is putting $20 in a savings account and hoping my car doesn't die. But here's where it gets good. About 6 months before I propose, her dad pulls me aside at some family barbecue. He goes, "Son, I want to talk to you about protecting assets." I'm thinking he's going to give me stock tips or something. Nope. Dude whips out this leather portfolio, not a folder, a portfolio, and starts talking about prenuptial agreements like he's selling me a timeshare. It's just good business, he says. Nothing personal. Just protects everyone involved. When I finally propose, ring financed over 18 months because I'm not an idiot, her parents invite me over for a conversation. I show up thinking we're going to talk about wedding venues or some shit. Wrong again. They've got their attorney there. Their freaking attorney. At the kitchen table. With a binder. Not a folder, not some papers, a 3-ring binder with tabs and everything. This thing looked like it could launch missiles. The lawyer's speaking in that monotone voice lawyers use when they're about to screw you but want it to sound friendly. This is just standard protection for both parties, he says, sliding the binder across the table like it's a peace treaty. I flip through this thing and it's like reading stereo instructions written by someone who hates fun. Separate property. Tabbed in blue. Waiver of maintenance. Red tab. Should have been a warning. Infidelity clause. Orange tab. Yeah, they really went there. Inheritance protections. Green tab. The thing even had a table of contents. Her dad's sitting there acting like this is totally normal, like every engagement comes with its own legal seminar. It's really quite simple, he says. What's yours stays yours, what's hers stays hers. Clean and easy. The infidelity clause was my favorite part. If either party cheats and it can be proven by preponderance of evidence, fancy lawyers speak for, yeah, we're pretty sure you did it. That person forfeits any claim to attorney's fees. Her mom literally says, well, if nobody's planning to cheat, it shouldn't matter, right? With this smile that could freeze hellfire. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Karen. I'm sitting there like, are you fucking serious right now? But out loud I just go, okay. I guess that makes sense. Then comes the ultimatum, delivered by her dad with all the warmth of a parking ticket. This gets signed before the wedding or there is no wedding. Straight up hostage negotiation. Sign or the princess stays in the tower. I called my buddy Bill that night, frustrated as hell. Dude, they want me to sign some contract like I'm buying a house, not marrying Fiona. Bill's response, bro, if you're sure you're not going to cheat and you're not after her money, who gives a shit? Sign the thing and marry the girl. So I find this lawyer on the cheap. Guy operates out of a strip mall between a nail salon and a Subway. It's aggressive but not illegal, he tells me. Pretty standard rich people stuff. You comfortable with the terms? I'm thinking, I'm 28, I make decent money, I love this girl, and I'm not planning to cheat or steal from anybody. How hard could it be? Yeah, sure, whatever. Famous last words right there. So we got married. Beautiful wedding. Even though Fiona's parents controlled every detail like they were planning the invasion of Normandy. I wanted a DJ. They hired a string quartet. I wanted an open bar. They went with signature cocktails that nobody could pronounce. But whatever. I married the girl, not the wedding. And for the first few years, life was actually pretty great. We moved into this little starter house in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, built in the 80s when everyone thought beige was the height of sophistication. But it had a garage, a yard, and neighbors who minded their own business. Perfect. Then the kids started coming. Claire first, then Nate 2 years later, then Luke 2 years after that, then Julia. 4 kids in 8 years because apparently we didn't own a TV, or birth control, or self-control. My wife wanted to stay home with them, and it made sense. So I became the workhorse, getting up at 5:30, hitting the gym before work because it was the only hour of the day that belonged to me. Promotions came steady, logistics coordinator, supply chain analyst, logistics supervisor, supply chain manager. Each step up meant more responsibility, more hours, more bullshit, but also more money. I was that guy who actually read the employee handbook, maxed out my 401k contribution, learned every system inside and out. Not because I loved work, but because I understood math. More hours equals more money equals a better life for the family. The house became our project. Spent weekends at Home Depot, learning how to install ceiling fans and fix leaky faucets because hiring contractors for every little thing is how you stay broke. YouTube University taught me more about home maintenance than my dad ever did. The weeknight routine was clockwork. Come home, help with homework, eat dinner, bath time for whoever was small enough to need it, read bedtime stories, collapse on the couch. Weekends were soccer games, birthday parties, grocery runs, and whatever home improvement project I'd convinced myself I could finish in one afternoon. The mortgage refinancing was beautiful, though. Rates dropped, we had equity, credit score was solid. Went from a 30-year to a 15-year, payment barely changed. That move probably saved us $100,000 over the life of the loan. Fiona thought I was a genius. Her parents were tolerable during this phase. They'd visit, bring expensive gifts the kids didn't need, make comments about the neighborhood being charming, in that tone that meant anything but. But they seemed to approve of how we were handling things. Her dad even complimented my lawn once. High praise from a guy who pays someone else to cut his grass. The prenup became this weird family joke. Thank God you two signed that thing, her mom would say at Christmas dinner. Keeps everything simple. Her dad would nod like it was his greatest achievement, right up there with inventing fire. I'd just smile and change the subject. Fiona was good at the mom thing, I'll give her credit. She ran that house like a military operation. She knew every kid's teacher, every friend's parent, every schedule conflict 3 months in advance. I handled the money, the maintenance, the planning. She handled the logistics, the social stuff, the emotional heavy lifting. It worked. We paid off the house 3 years ago, 12 years ahead of the original 30-year schedule, right on track with the 15-year refi. Through every bonus, every tax refund, every spare dollar at that mortgage like it owed us money. The kids were growing up good. The house was ours. Work was stable. Money was steady. Normal problems. Normal solutions. I thought we'd figured it out. Then her parents' money started disappearing, and everything went sideways. Around year 15 of our marriage, I started noticing changes in her parents. Subtle at first. They stopped talking about their latest vacation or the new car. Then her dad started asking me about my 401k strategy and whether I thought gold was a smart hedge against inflation. Bad year in the markets became their go-to explanation for everything. Their country club membership lapsed temporarily. The vacation house in the mountains got sold to simplify things. The Mercedes got traded for a Honda. They still tried to keep up appearances, but you could see the cracks. Her dad, who used to talk about money like he was Warren Buffett's smarter brother, suddenly wanted to discuss conservative investment strategies and protecting principal. Translation: dude was scared shitless and had no idea what he was doing. Turns out playing rich guy is easier when you actually have money. Turns out they'd gone all in on some investment scheme that sounded too good to be true because it was too good to be true. Something about emerging markets and guaranteed returns. When it went tits up, it took most of their liquid assets with it. Then came the lawsuits. Multiple lawsuits. Her dad was on both sides of some nasty legal shit, suing the guys who sold him the bad investments while getting sued by other investors who thought he should have known better. Legal fees ate what the bad investments didn't. These weren't strip mall lawyers charging $300 for document review. These were white shoe firms billing $800 an hour to argue about who was responsible for what. Her parents were hemorrhaging money fighting over money they'd already lost. My wife took it hard. She'd grown up thinking her parents were financially bulletproof, and now they were shopping at Target instead of Nordstrom. Not exactly a tragedy, but for someone who'd never seen her parents worry about money, it was like watching Superman get his ass kicked. She started spending more time helping her parents, which really meant sitting around their house, talking about the good old days and complaining about lawyers. I got it. Family is family, but it also meant she was home less, engaged less, present less. The kids were getting older and more independent. Claire was in college, Nate was in high school, Luke was in middle school, and Julia was in high school too. The intense hands-on parenting phase was winding down, and my wife was restless. That's when the finding herself phase started. First, it was a book club that met during the day, then yoga classes, then a pottery class, then some volunteer thing at the art museum. All perfectly normal stuff, except she was treating it like a full-time job. I'd come home from work and she'd be rushing out to some meeting or class or event. Don't wait up became her standard goodbye. I'd handle dinner with the kids, help with homework, do bedtime routine, then sit on the couch wondering when the hell my wife was coming home. When I asked about it, She'd get defensive. I spent 15 years raising your children and running your house. Now I want to do something for me. Like I'd been holding her prisoner or something. Fair enough, I thought. Everyone deserves hobbies. But hobbies don't usually involve staying out until midnight 3 nights a week. The argument started slow. Little passive-aggressive comments about appreciation and effort. She'd make dinner and then act like she'd performed surgery. I'd fix the garbage disposal and get a lecture about how I never noticed the things she did around the house. "You take me for granted," was her favorite line. Meanwhile, I'm working 50 hours a week, handling all the finances, maintaining the house, and still showing up for every important kid event. But apparently I wasn't emotionally present enough. I tried the date night thing, hired babysitters, made reservations, bought flowers, but it felt forced, like we were both performing instead of connecting. She'd spend half the dinner texting or talking about whatever drama was happening in her art museum volunteer group. The sex dried up around this time too. It went from regular to occasional to special occasions only. When I'd bring it up, she'd say she was tired or stressed or not feeling appreciated. Classic catch-22. Can't feel close because we're not having sex, can't have sex because we don't feel close. I own my part in this. I coasted on autopilot for too long. Work, house, kids, repeat. I figured if I kept handling my responsibilities, everything else would sort itself out. Wrong. But here's what pisses me off. I was still showing up. Still working, still paying bills, still fixing shit, still being a dad. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't checked out either. I was doing what I thought marriage was supposed to be. Partnership, teamwork, building something together. She was doing something else. I just didn't know what yet. The really screwed up part? Her parents started warming up to me during this period. They'd always tolerated me, but now they were actually friendly, asking about my work, complimenting the house, talking about how proud they were of the family we'd built. Her dad even said something like, "You've really provided stability for our daughter." That's not easy in today's world. Coming from a guy who used to act like I was lucky to breathe the same air as his daughter, it was weird. You know how in movies, the guy always finds out about the affair in some dramatic way? Walking in on them, seeing them at a restaurant, finding a love letter? Well, real life is way more boring. I found out because her phone was buzzing on the kitchen counter while she was upstairs getting ready for another one of her yoga nights. Just a notification lighting up the screen while I was cleaning up after dinner. The preview showed a name I didn't recognize, and a photo I'm not going to describe, but let's just say it wasn't from her freaking yoga instructor. I didn't immediately confront her. I didn't scream or throw shit or make a scene. I did what any good operations manager would do. I started documenting. First stop was our cell phone account online. We're on a family plan, so I have access to usage reports. 3 months of records painted a pretty clear picture. Tons of texts and calls to a number I didn't recognize, mostly during work hours. The pattern was obvious once you knew what to look for. Then I checked our credit card statements. Amazing what you miss when you're not looking for it. Business lunches at restaurants I'd never heard of. Hotel charges downtown when she was supposedly at her book club. Little purchases at hotel gift shops, coffee, snacks, stuff you buy when you're killing time between room service and round 2. Find My iPhone was the real goldmine. She'd never turned off location sharing because why would she? We're married, right? No secrets. Except her yoga studio apparently moved to the Marriott downtown, and her book club was meeting at some dude's apartment complex in the afternoons. I printed everything. Built a timeline that would make a prosecutor jealous. Dates, times, locations, expenditures. The whole thing was laid out in a folder. The guy turned out to be some divorced dude she met through her volunteer work. Recently separated, kids every other weekend. The whole midlife crisis package. Found his social media pretty easily, posting pictures of his motorcycle and inspirational quotes about living authentically. Real deep thinker, this one. Probably has no regrets tattooed somewhere. 3 weeks of surveillance confirmed what I already knew. Tuesday and Thursday, yoga, Monday book club, and Friday girls' night were all bullshit. She had a whole second life I knew nothing about. All those late nights, all those mysterious new interests, all those arguments about not feeling appreciated. I'd been trying to fix a marriage that was already over, bringing flowers to a funeral. I called a lawyer the next morning. I walked in with my folder of evidence and a copy of our prenup. She read through everything while I sat there. "How long have you suspected?" she asked. "About a month of knowing for sure. Maybe 6 months of wondering. Good documentation. The prenup is interesting. Waiver of maintenance after the youngest turns 18, and this infidelity clause about attorney's fees. That's not standard language. Her parents' lawyer wrote it." She grinned. Well, their lawyer just became your best friend, with your youngest at 17, and this level of evidence. You're in an extremely strong position. The question is whether you want to settle or litigate. What's the difference? Settlement is faster and cheaper. Litigation is slower and more expensive. But given this prenup and your evidence, you'd probably win everything you're entitled to plus attorney's fees from her side. I thought about it for about 10 seconds. How fast can we serve papers? 2 weeks if you want to do this right. Do it right. I drove home that afternoon and looked at my house differently. 20 years of mortgage payments, weekend projects, and normal family life. The place where we'd raised our kids, celebrated birthdays, argued about whose turn it was to take out the trash. Now it felt like a museum of a life that was already over. But I wasn't sad about it. I was pissed. Not just about the cheating, about the lying, the manipulation, the way she'd made me feel like I was the problem when she was the one with a secret boyfriend. About the years of my life I wasted trying to fix something she'd already broken. You know what really got me? She was still coming home every night acting like nothing had changed, still complaining about the dishes, still asking about my day, still playing the devoted wife and mother. Either she was a sociopath or she thought I was a complete moron. Probably both. The kids had no idea, which was exactly how it should be. They were dealing with their own shit. School, friends, college applications, normal teenager problems. The last thing they needed was to know their mom was having an affair with some divorced loser who rides a motorcycle to volunteer meetings. I kept everything normal on the surface. Still went to Nate's wrestling matches. Still helped Luke with his college essays. Still made pancakes on Saturday mornings. But inside, I was counting down the days until the sheriff would show up at our door with a manila envelope that would change everything. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. But eventually, the day came. I was at work when it happened. Specifically, I was in a meeting about Q1 supplier performance metrics when my phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. Service completed at 2:47 p.m. I finished the meeting, wrapped up a few things, and drove home with my stomach in knots. Because I knew the next few hours were going to be a shit show of epic proportions. I pulled into the driveway around 5:30. Her car was there, which meant she'd gotten served and was sitting inside, probably calling every divorce lawyer in the phone book. The kids wouldn't be home for another hour. Perfect timing. I walked in the front door and she was sitting at the kitchen table with the papers spread out in front of her, like she was solving a jigsaw puzzle. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared, tissues scattered around. For a second, I almost felt bad. Then I remembered the hotel charges and the feeling passed. Really? She said, looking up at me. This is how you want to handle things? Papers served by a sheriff like I'm some kind of criminal? Have you lost your damn mind? It's how these things work. Nothing personal. Nothing personal? 20 years of marriage and 4 kids is nothing personal. Do you even hear yourself? I set my keys on the counter and looked at her. This woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with. Mother of my children. Now just another problem to be managed. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, I told her. Up to you. That's when the waterworks really started. Crying, apologizing, begging for counseling, promising it was just a mistake, swearing it didn't mean anything. The whole performance. If I hadn't seen the evidence with my own eyes, it might have been convincing. I know about Jason, I said calmly. I know about everything. Her face went white. Busted. No more lies, no more gaslighting, no more pretending I was the crazy one for suspecting something was wrong. No, it's not what you think. Stop. Just stop. I held up my hand. All communication goes through the attorneys now. You can't be serious. We have children together. We can work this out. The children will be fine. We're both going to be fine. But we're not working anything out. This is over. You can't throw everything away over one mistake. Watch me. You crossed the line, now deal with the consequences. 20 years. Doesn't that count for... Exactly, Fiona. 20 years weren't enough to teach you loyalty. I went upstairs, changed clothes, came back down, and started making dinner like nothing had happened. She sat at the table crying and making phone calls to her parents, her sister, probably a few lawyers. The kids came home one by one. Julia first, bouncing in from soccer practice, dirty and happy. Then Nate, arguing with someone on his phone about something that happened at school. Finally Luke, tired from his shift at the restaurant where he worked part-time. Normal family chaos. Someone asking what's for dinner, someone else complaining about homework. For a few minutes, it felt like any other Tuesday night. Except their mom was sitting at the kitchen table looking like someone had died, and I was stirring pasta sauce while mentally calculating how to divide 20 years of accumulated stuff into 2 separate lives. I waited until after dinner. Then I asked them all to sit down at the table. Your mom and I are separating, I said. No buildup, no sugarcoating. It's not because of anything you did, and it doesn't change how much we love you, but we won't be living together anymore. Silence. Julia started crying immediately. She was 17, but still the baby of the family, still believed her parents were invincible. Nate got angry first. What the hell, Dad? Out of nowhere. It's not out of nowhere. Your mom and I have been having problems for a while. So fix them, Luke said. He'd been quiet until then, but now he was looking at me like I'd just announced I was joining the circus. Work it out. That's what married people do. Some problems can't be fixed, I told them. This is one of them. More tears, more questions, more anger. I stuck to the script. Problems we can't fix. Love you all. Nothing changes for you. We'll work out the details. I promised I'd still be at all their games, concerts, whatever they needed. What I didn't tell them was why. The cheating, the lies, the evidence sitting in my lawyer's office. That was adult business. And they were still kids, even the ones technically old enough to vote. Fiona just sat there crying. Didn't say a word, didn't try to defend herself or blame me or promise the kids we'd work things out. Maybe she finally understood the situation was unfixable. Over the next few days, she tried everything. Crying, begging, bargaining, threatening. She called my parents, my brother, my best friend, anyone she thought might convince me to reconsider. She suggested counseling about 50 times. She promised to end things with Jason. None of it mattered. I'd made my decision with my head, not my heart. The heart part was already over. Had been over for months, maybe years. Now it was just logistics. I moved into the guest bedroom and started living like a tenant in my own house. Separate schedules, separate meals, separate everything. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. Teenagers are resilient as hell when they need to be. But then she started using them as messengers. Tell Dad we should try counseling. Tell Dad he's being stubborn. Tell Dad he's hurting the family. Classic manipulation bullshit designed to put me in an impossible position. If I responded to the kids, I was dragging them into adult problems. If I didn't respond, I looked like an asshole who didn't care about his family. She knew exactly what she was doing. That's when I went from separation to full divorce mode. When someone tries to weaponize your kids against you, the gloves come off. Julia's 18th birthday was supposed to be simple. She'd specifically asked for low-key because she was stressed about SATs and didn't want a big production. I should have known better. In my family, simple and no drama are mutually exclusive concepts. First hour went fine. We managed to have normal conversations about Julia's classes, Nate's wrestling season, Luke's plans for summer break. Even my in-laws behaved themselves, though her dad kept giving me these weird looks. Claire was there with her boyfriend. Nice enough guy, but he has that nervous energy of someone who knows he's walked into a family crisis and isn't sure which direction the grenades are coming from. Smart kid, probably the only one reading the room correctly. We ordered pizza from Julia's favorite place. Julia seemed happy, which was the whole point. She's been the most affected by all this shit, probably because she's the youngest and still lives at home. Then, my wife decided to give a toast. She stood up with her Diet Coke, getting that look in her eyes that meant she was about to say something that would make everyone uncomfortable. I tried to catch her eye, shake my head, anything to signal, don't freaking do this here. But she was already in full performance mode. I just want to say how wonderful it is to have the whole family together for such an important day, she starts, looking around the table like she's accepting an award. Family is the most important thing, and I hope we can always find ways to stay close, no matter what challenges we face. Dead silence. Everyone knew what she was really saying. Nate put his fork down and looked at her like she'd just started speaking German. Luke shifted in his chair. Julia's face went red. Mom, Nate said quietly, please don't do this. Not tonight. But Claire couldn't leave it alone. What's wrong with wanting the family to stay together? She asked, jumping to her mom's defense like she always does. She's just saying she loves us. That's when Julia, sweet, quiet Julia, who never causes trouble, put her pizza slice down and looked directly at her older sister. Claire, stop. You don't actually want the family to stay whole. You just don't want anyone to find out you've been helping Mom cover up her affair. The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. My in-laws looked like they'd been hit with a stun gun. Luke's mouth fell open. Nate's eyes went wide. Even the boyfriend looked uncomfortable, and he barely knew anyone. My wife tried to say something, but nothing came out. Just opened and closed her mouth like a fish. Claire started crying and stammering denials, but Julia wasn't done. I'm not stupid, she continued. I've known for months. The lies about where Mom was going, the deleted texts, The way you'd cover for her when Dad asked questions. I've been watching this family fall apart while everyone pretended nothing was wrong, and I'm tired of it. Then she got up from the table and went to her room. The room exploded. Claire crying, Fiona trying to explain, my in-laws demanding to know what the hell was going on, Luke asking if someone could please tell him what was happening. Nate just sat there looking like someone had told him Santa Claus was real, but also a serial killer. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and addressed the room like I was dismissing a particularly unproductive staff meeting. Party's over. Everyone needs to leave. Now. Took me about 3 minutes to clear the house. My in-laws left without saying goodbye. Claire left still crying, dragging her confused boyfriend behind her. Nate went to his room, probably to text his friends and try to figure out what the fuck just happened. Fiona tried to stay and talk, but I told her to go stay at her parents' house for the night. We'd deal with the fallout tomorrow through our lawyers. I found Julia in her room, sitting on her bed looking exhausted. I'm sorry your birthday got ruined, I told her. It's not ruined, she said. I'm just tired of everyone pretending. It feels better to have it all out in the open. Smart kid. How long have you known? I asked. Since last summer. I came home early from soccer camp and saw Mom's car at some guy's apartment complex. When I asked her about it later, she lied. Then I started paying attention to the other lies. Why didn't you tell me? She shrugged. What was I supposed to say? Hey, Dad, I think Mom's cheating on you? You guys needed to figure it out yourselves. I hugged her and told her she was the best thing her mom and I ever did together, which was true. Then I went downstairs, thinking about how an 18-year-old had just shown more maturity than anyone else in her family. Nate found me in the kitchen around midnight. How long have you known about Mom cheating? He asked. A few months. And Claire knew? Apparently. He thought about it for a minute. That's fucked up, Dad. Language, I said automatically, then realized how ridiculous that was given the circumstances. But yeah, it's pretty fucked up. That was the last time I spoke to Claire for 6 months. Not as punishment, not to be cruel, but because I couldn't trust her anymore. When someone chooses to participate in deception that destroys their family, they lose access to you. Simple as that. Some people called it harsh. I called it having boundaries. So here we are, 8 months later. Discovery is wrapped up, settlement negotiations are going nowhere, and my lawyer is practically salivating every time she looks at our case file. The irony is beautiful. Her parents spent God knows how much money on that prenup to protect their wealth from a gold-digging son-in-law. Then they lost their wealth. Then their daughter cheated. And now that same prenup is screwing her over. Here's how it's all shaking out. Maintenance, alimony, waived completely. The prenup specifically says no spousal support after the youngest child turns 18. Julia just turned 18, so that window slammed shut. Attorney's fees. Thanks to the infidelity clause and my folder of evidence, she gets to pay her own legal bills while I get mine covered. My lawyer estimates she's already spent $30,000 on attorneys. I've spent about $8,000, which I'll get back. The house. This is where it gets really good. We own it outright. No mortgage, no liens, just a paid-off house worth about $400,000. The prenup says we split equity minus any post-separation carrying costs. I've been paying all the utilities, insurance, property taxes, and maintenance since we separated. That's about $3,000 per month in carrying costs that I can offset against her share of the equity. 8 months times $3,000 equals $24,000 in offsets, and counting. She wants to keep the house, but she can't afford to buy me out. No income, no credit, parents are broke. The bank isn't exactly lining up to give a 48-year-old woman with no work history a $200,000 mortgage. Retirement accounts. My 401k from before marriage stays mine completely. The growth during marriage gets split by formula, but since I've been maxing contributions for 20 years, most of the value is premarital or post-separation. She's looking at maybe $40,000 from retirement accounts. Everything else, cars, furniture, personal stuff, we each keep what we brought to the marriage, plus whatever we can agree on. Not much to fight about there. The math is simple. She's looking at maybe $200,000 from the house sale, minus her half of the offsets. $40,000 from retirement accounts, her car, and whatever furniture she bought. Total net worth walking away, roughly $220,000. Not bad for someone who hasn't worked in 20 years, but not enough to maintain the lifestyle she's gotten used to. Definitely not enough to keep playing wine club volunteer while dating guys with motorcycles. My side, $200,000 from the house, keep my retirement money, my car, and no ongoing financial obligations to someone who decided to blow up our marriage. Plus, I get to stay in the workforce making good money, while she figures out what 48-year-old women with liberal arts degrees do for employment. Her parents were absolutely losing their shit. They keep trying to get involved, suggesting we work something out or think about the children. Her dad actually had the balls to call me and suggest I was being unnecessarily harsh, given our long family relationship. Dude, you spent 20 years treating me like hired help. We're not exactly blood brothers. I told him the prenup was his idea. The terms were his lawyer's work, and I was just letting their contract do what contracts do. He hung up on me. Fiona has moved in with her parents, which has to be a special kind of hell for everyone involved. 3 broke people sharing a house, blaming each other for their current situation. Her parents mad at her for cheating. Her mad at them for the prenup. Everyone mad at me for having the audacity to enforce it. Claire's still trying to play peacemaker, sending me texts about family forgiveness and everyone makes mistakes. I don't respond. When this is all over, maybe we'll have coffee and I'll listen to her. But right now, she's still team mom, and I'm not interested in being managed by a 22-year-old who helped cover up an affair. The other 3 kids are doing fine. Nate's wrestling season is going great. Luke got into his first-choice college, and Julia made the honor roll again. They've all adjusted to the new normal better than the adults have. They get it. We're headed to trial. Her lawyer keeps pushing settlement offers that ignore the prenup terms. My lawyer keeps reminding them that contracts mean what they say. Unless she accepts reality soon, we'll let a judge sort it out. I'm not worried about the court. Judges see this stuff every day. We have a clear contract, overwhelming evidence of infidelity, and a paper trail that could choke a horse. As I'm writing this final update, I just got a text from my lawyer. My ex-wife's attorney called to discuss a realistic settlement framework that acknowledges the prenup terms. Translation: they finally read the contract and realized they're screwed. But it was too late. I was done negotiating with people who'd spent months trying to rewrite reality. We went to trial. The judge took one look at the prenup, one look at my evidence folder, and one look at Fiona's lawyer trying to argue that a 4-month affair wasn't really infidelity. And you could see her making up her mind in real time. My lawyer laid out the evidence like she was presenting a PowerPoint to executives. Cell phone records, credit card statements, location data, hotel receipts, hundreds of pages of documentation. Fiona's side tried the usual bullshit. Unfair contract, changed circumstances. Think of the children. Her parents took the stand crying about how they never meant for the prenup to be this harsh, and it was supposed to be more of a deterrent. Then they called Jason as a witness. Dude showed up looking like he'd rather be getting a root canal. Under oath, he basically confirmed everything. The timeline, the hotels, the whole thing. Her lawyer asked if he pressured her into the affair. Jason actually laughed and said she was the one who pursued him. Real romantic stuff. When Fiona testified, she tried the moment of weakness defense, cried on cue, talked about feeling unappreciated. But when my lawyer started asking about the lies, all the specific lies to me and the kids, she fell apart. Had to admit she involved Claire in covering up her trips to Jason's apartment. The judge didn't take long to decide. Came back from recess and basically said the prenup was clear, the evidence was overwhelming, and contracts mean what they say. Prenup enforced in full. Oh, and thanks to the infidelity clause, Fiona gets to pay both sides attorney fees, about $45,000 total. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. House sold, assets divided according to the prenup, everything finalized just like the contract said. Fiona walked away with about $180,000 from the house, after all the offsets I'd been racking up. Maybe $38,000 from retirement accounts, her car, and whatever furniture she wanted. Then got hit with the $45,000 legal bill that wiped out a big chunk of her settlement. I kept $220,000 from the house, all my retirement money, my car, and 0 ongoing obligations to someone who decided to trade 20 years of marriage for hotel room meetups. But here's where it gets really good. 2 weeks after the trial, Jason dumped her. Turns out banging a married woman is way more exciting when there's actual forbidden fruit involved. Once she was just another broke divorcee with financial problems, and poetry guy suddenly lost interest. Fiona started working retail at a department store, making $12 an hour, living in her childhood bedroom. Her parents had to sell their house to help pay her legal bills, but they owed more than it was worth. Ended up taking a loan against what little equity they had left just to cover the attorney fees. The kids are doing fine. Julia's crushing college. Nate made varsity wrestling. Luke's got his career mapped out. They see their mom when they want to, but they're not interested in pretending everything's normal when it's clearly not. Claire finally stopped trying to play family counselor after about 6 months of me not responding to her "we should all forgive each other" texts. Some bridges you burn, some bridges burn themselves. So that's it, Reddit. 21 years ago, I signed a contract I thought would never matter. Turns out it was the best legal document I ever put my name on. Her parents' greedy prenup totally screwed her over. Life is good. Story 3. This story is titled, My Girlfriend Got Groomed into Cheating on Valentine's Day by Her Friend's Insane Loyalty Test. And it blew up in their faces. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Sup Reddit, gonna need you guys to bear with me because this is a pretty messed up situation and I need to get it all out. Never thought I'd be posting here, but honestly don't know who else to talk to about this whole thing. I'm 27, male, dealing with drama from my girlfriend, 25 female. So this story starts back in high school, senior year. Picture this. Ya boy's standing in the school parking lot next to my dad's restored 67 Mustang. He let me borrow it for prom, cause my Civic wasn't exactly prom material. My date had just texted saying she got back with her ex or whatever. Typical high school drama. I'm legit about to just head home and probably play some COD all night when this girl Jen walks by, looking all stressed. Turns out her friend who was supposed to drive her just didn't show up. No text, no call, nothing. She's standing there in her prom dress with her phone dead. Classic 2014 iPhone battery life, am I right? We got talking and I don't know, man, something just clicked. She was actually into cars and knew what a 289 V8 was. Her dad restored classics too. That was pretty much it for me. We ended up going to prom together and honestly had the best time. She wasn't trying to be all fancy or impress anyone, just vibing and making fun of the DJ's horrible music choices with me. After prom, we went to this 24-hour diner with some friends, and she ordered a massive plate of cheese fries and didn't do that fake, I'm not hungry thing. Real ones know what I'm talking about. Fast forward through college, we did long distance because she went to state and I went to tech, but we made it work. Every other weekend, I'd drive my beat-up Civic 3 hours to see her, or she'd take the bus to come see me. We'd game together online when we couldn't meet up. She was actually better at Rocket League than me, but don't tell anyone I admitted that. That's also when I met Jake. First day of freshman year, we're in the same computer science class and both wearing the same Metallica shirt. Started hanging out, found out we were both into bikes. He had this clapped-out Ninja 250 that barely ran, and I had just gotten my license. We spent more weekends fixing that bike than riding it TBH. After graduation, Jake and I had this crazy idea to start our own consulting business. Everyone said we were stupid to turn down our corporate offers, but Jen supported it 100%. She was working entry-level at some marketing firm, but would bring us energy drinks and pizza during our all-nighters coding. She even learned some basic HTML, CSS to help us with our first client's website when we couldn't afford to hire anyone. Those first 2 years were rough, man. Living off ramen, working out of my garage because we couldn't afford office space, taking any client we could get. Jen never complained once. She'd sit in the garage with us, working on her laptop, ordering cheap Chinese food, and just being there. Even helped us pick our company name and designed our first logo. Then things started picking up. We landed a big client, then another, and suddenly we had enough money to rent actual office space. Jen got promoted at her job too. Life was good, you know? We moved in together, got a decent apartment. I bought my street bob, 2018 if anyone's wondering, and she'd go on rides with me on weekends. Nothing crazy, just cruising around, finding new coffee spots. Everything changed when Jake met his girl Kate, 26 female, at some tech conference in the city. She was handling marketing for this startup that ended up going nowhere. But man, that chick talk a big game. First time I met her, something felt off, like she was interviewing for a job instead of meeting her boyfriend's friends. Every conversation somehow turned into this TED Talk about personal branding and leveraging social media presence. Before Kate, our weekends were simple. Working on bikes, gaming, maybe hitting up a car meet. After, suddenly everything had to be these fancy brunches where she'd spend the whole time talking about her follower count and networking opportunities. Jake was eating it up though. Started wearing these weird designer clothes and talking about his personal brand too. The real problem started when Jen began hanging out with Kate more. At first it was subtle. She stopped stealing my band shirts to sleep in. Said they didn't look good on her Instagram. Started doing these juice cleanses instead of our morning coffee runs. Then it got worse. Suddenly all our date nights turned into networking events and professional development seminars. My girl who used to help me change oil on the bike started complaining about breaking her nails. She even made me move my bike tools from the garage to the storage unit because they didn't fit the apartment's aesthetic. Like what? Jake and Kate got engaged on New Year's, but kept it quiet. Kate wanted to do some big announcement thing at their Valentine's party. Should have known something was up when she insisted on making it this fancy dinner party instead of our usual gaming night. After they got engaged, Jen changed completely. She's suddenly signing up for all these professional networking events that Kate recommended, spending crazy money on clothes she'd never wear before. Next thing I know, Jen's got a whole new wardrobe that looks exactly like Kate's style. She's even trying to talk like her, using words like synergy and personal brand optimization, unironically. One day I'm working late at the office, fixing some code for a client deadline. Jen texts saying she's networking with Kate. Cool, nothing unusual there. But then my boy Chris rides a sick customized Road King, texts me a pic. Jen and Kate at this fancy rooftop bar with a bunch of suits, and Jen's practically hanging off this dude's every word. Chris was there meeting clients and knew something looked off. I finally had enough and tried talking to her about it one night after she bailed on our weekly game night for another one of Kate's networking mixers. Hey, can we talk for a second? I remember sitting on our couch, trying to keep it casual. What? She barely looked up from her phone. I miss hanging out, you know. Like, when's the last time we went to a bike meet? Or had game night with the crew? Man, the look she gave me. Like I just suggested we live in a cave or something. Oh my god, is that what this is about? Your little bike meets? She actually did air quotes. Kate's right, you know. You're holding me back with all this garage stuff. Holding you back? From what? From reaching my potential. Look at Kate. She's got 50,000 followers and companies fighting to work with her. What am I supposed to tell people? That my boyfriend's idea of networking is pizza and PlayStation? I just sat there for a minute. Like, who even was this person? This wasn't my Jen who used to get excited about new game releases and help me pick out bike parts. Level up my network. She actually said that with a straight face, followed by some speech about how Kate was opening her eyes to new opportunities and how I should be thinking bigger. When I pointed out she used to love our game nights, she just rolled her eyes and said, "Yeah, when I was settling. Settling." After 10 years together, she was calling our life settling. I had a feeling that there's more into this Kate that got Jen hooked. I started noticing Jen texting all hours. She'd jump every time her phone buzzed. Changed her password too. Not that I ever checked her phone, but we used to know each other's in case of emergencies. She said it was for work privacy, but man, should have seen what was really going on. Then she stopped coming to our weekend car meets. These meets were our thing since high school, where we first really connected. Instead, she's suddenly all about these fancy charity galas and networking events that Kate keeps inviting her to. Always said I could come too, but had this tone like my regular clothes weren't good enough. Jake seemed different too. Started skipping our Tuesday night gaming sessions. Kept saying he was busy with work, but his Steam status showed him online. When we did hang out, he was weird about talking about Kate or Jen. I actually started feeling bad about how my relationship with Jen started to feel. Like maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should be going to these networking events instead of working on my bike or gaming with the boys. I started wearing business casual to the office instead of my usual jeans and tees. Even considered selling the street bob because Jen said it didn't fit our new lifestyle. During that time, Jake decides to throw this Valentine's Day party at his place. Not his usual style, we normally just grab pizza and play Elden Ring or something. But Kate was all about making it this fancy dinner party thing. Whatever, I figured we'd survive one night of pretending to be fancy. The day starts with Jen literally spending 4 hours getting ready. Not even exaggerating. She's locked in our bathroom from 3 p.m. I'm sitting there in my room trying to get some work done, had a client project due. And every time I ask if she's okay, she snaps at me saying she needs to look perfect. This from the girl who used to get ready for dates in 20 minutes max. Finally, she comes out wearing this red dress that probably cost more than my first bike. Now look, I'm not usually the type to comment on what anyone wears, but this wasn't a nice dress for a party situation. This was a trying to get stares situation. When I asked about it, trying to be casual like new dress, she gets all defensive saying I should be happy to have such a hot girlfriend. Bruh, what? I rode my bike to work that day because it was nice out, so we had to take her car to Jake's place. Whole ride there, she's glued to her phone, fixing her makeup at every red light, barely saying 2 words to me. I tried making conversation about this new project at work, and she straight up tells me to be quiet because she's trying to concentrate. On what? Taking selfies? Get to Jake's place, and it's like I stopped existing. The moment we walk in, she makes a beeline for Jake. Didn't even wait for me to hang up our coats. just speed walked over to him in these heels she could barely walk in, leaving me standing there like an idiot. There were like 8 other couples there, all friends from college and work. Everyone's dressed nice but normal, you know? But Jen's over here looking like she's trying to be on Real Housewives or whatever. And the way she was acting, man. You know when you see someone trying way too hard and it's just painful to watch? Yeah, that. She spent the entire night following Jake around, laughing at every single thing he said like he was Dave Chappelle or something. Keep in mind, Jake tells dad jokes. Bad ones. She's touching his arm, flipping her hair, doing all that obvious flirting stuff. Meanwhile, Kate's watching this whole thing and not saying a word, which should have tipped me off that something weird was going on. My boy Chris, the one with the Road King, pulls me aside during the party. He's like, "Bro, is everything okay with you and Jen?" Says his wife Sarah was getting uncomfortable watching Jen throw herself at Jake. And Chris is the most oblivious dude I know. If he noticed something was wrong, you know it was bad. Dinner was when it got really stupid. Jake had these place cards set up. Somehow between the kitchen and dining room, Jen managed to switch them around so she was sitting next to Jake instead of me. Middle school moves. So I ended up stuck between Kate and someone's random cousin. The whole dinner was just brutal. Jen's basically in Jake's lap, feeding him food from her plate. Who does that? I glared at her to have a sense of respect, but she didn't understand what I'm trying to say. She kept making these weird comments about how good he looks in a suit. Jake's trying to play it cool, keeping his responses short, but Jen's not taking the hint. Meanwhile, Kate's just sitting there with this weird little smile, watching everything like she's taking notes for later. That's when Jen pulls her little accident. We're all sitting there finishing dinner when she knocks over her glass, spilling it all over that red dress. Now listen, this is the same girl who once parallel parked my lowered Civic in stilettos while holding a full McDonald's coffee. She doesn't just accidentally spill stuff. The way she jumped up, though, you'd think she'd spilled lava or something. "Oh my God, Jake! Can you help me clean this up?" Her voice went all high-pitched, like those girls in anime when they're trying to be cute. Everyone at the table just kind of froze. I counted to 30 in my head. 30 seconds. That's how long I waited, staring at my plate, wondering if I was being paranoid. Chris caught my eye across the table, giving me this look like, "You gonna check on that?" So I got up to check on them. The kitchen door was one of those swinging ones. I pushed it open slowly, didn't make a sound. And there they were. Jen had Jake pinned against the sink, and she was doing that thing with her hair she used to do when we first started dating. Jake's holding paper towels like a shield between them, looking mad uncomfortable. You ever been so angry you actually feel cold? Like your whole body just goes into this weird calm state? I stood there watching my high school sweetheart trying to seduce my best friend in someone else's kitchen, and everything just went quiet in my head. "Jen, what the actual fuck is this?" Jen spun around so fast she almost fell. For a split second, she looked guilty. Then, man, it was like watching someone put on a mask. Her whole face changed. "Oh my God. Are you seriously spying on me right now?" She went from 0 to nuclear in half a second. "I can't believe you don't trust me. What, I can't even talk to Jake without you getting jealous? This is exactly what I mean about you being controlling." Jake still got those paper towels in his hands, looking at the floor like it's got the secrets of the universe written on it. Not saying a word. Some best friend, right? I could hear people in the dining room going quiet, chairs scraping as they tried to get a better listen. Kate appeared in the doorway, and I swear she had this tiny smirk on her face. I walked straight out the front door, past all our friends who were pretending not to stare, past the couples who were whispering to each other. Could hear her heels clicking on the hardwood behind me, getting faster and louder as she followed me down the hallway. She kept calling my name, her voice getting more desperate with each step. Made it to the driveway with her still following, still calling out. Even tried grabbing my arm at one point, but I just kept walking. Got in my car and drove off, watching her get smaller in my rearview mirror. Just standing there in that red dress in Jake's driveway, probably realizing this wasn't going according to whatever plan she had. Got a text at 3 a.m. "Staying at Amy's. Don't wait up." Like this was just another night out. Like I hadn't caught her with her hands all over my best friend. That night I crashed at my brother's place. He's got this sweet basement setup with an old PS4 and a mini fridge. Basically lived down there for 2 weeks straight. My phone was blowing up the whole time. Like 50 plus missed calls from Jen, hundreds of texts going from "you're overreacting" to "I miss you baby, please come home" to "you're being a childish jerk." My brother kept telling me to stay put, saying something wasn't adding up. After spending 2 weeks at my brother's place, I wrapped up work early one day. We just landed a big contract, so I was in a pretty good mood. Figured it was the right time to head home and have a real talk about everything. I didn't tell her I was coming. I wanted to catch her as she was, not prepped with fake tears or some rehearsed speech. I took my bike because it was actually decent weather for February, like 50 degrees, practically summer for you guys in Minnesota. Pull up to our apartment complex, and the first thing I see is Jake's lifted F-150 in my parking spot. You know, the spot I specifically paid extra for to keep my bike covered. Now my brain's trying to come up with excuses. Maybe Jake's there to apologize. Maybe they're talking about work. Jen's company sometimes contracted with us for tech stuff. But something in my gut just knew. I still had my key. Thank God I didn't mail it back when she asked. The moment I walk in, I hear music playing. Not just any music, the same playlist she made for our first anniversary. The one with all these cheesy love songs we used to make fun of but secretly liked. Our apartment isn't big. Basically just a living room, kitchen, one bedroom. I can hear laughing from the living room. Walk in and, yeah, there's Jen and Jake sitting on our couch. They were so close, talking, giggling, and looking intimate. What got me suffocated was that she was wearing that fucking red dress. They had this fancy cheese board set up. Jake trying to be all sophisticated now because of Kate. Like it was some kind of special occasion. They both jumped up when they saw me. Jake started with the "this isn't what it looks like" BS. Jen just sat there, looking shocked, like she couldn't believe I had the nerve to come to my own apartment. I didn't say anything, didn't yell, didn't flip out, just turned around and walked out. Could hear Jen running after me in the hallway, those same heels clicking on the floor that she wore to the party. She caught up to me at the elevator, grabbing my arm, crying about how she could explain everything. According to her, she invited Jake over to talk about me, said she was trying to get him to convince me to come back home. Right, because you need to wear a red cocktail dress and set up a whole damn spread for that conversation. The worst part? She kept going with the excuses. Said the dress was just because she wanted to look nice. Said the music was just on shuffle. Yeah, right. That specific playlist just happened to be playing. I fired up my bike and ripped out of there, full throttle, no hesitation. Didn't look back, didn't think, just rode, fast, hard. The roar of the engine drowned out everything. The betrayal, the bullshit, the pathetic excuses. I wasn't running away. I was leaving that whole damn mess in the dust where it belonged. I rode until the rage settled into something sharper, something colder. Pulled into a late-night garage I knew, one where real bikers worked, men who didn't deal in fake friendships and backstabbing. Stripped off my jacket, grabbed a wrench, and went to work. Needed to put my hands on something real, something solid, unlike the people I thought I could trust. At that moment, Jen was nothing to me, just a mistake I'd finally erased. Jake? He wasn't my problem anymore, never would be again. And me? I was done playing nice. Done being the guy who gave people the benefit of the doubt. I'd come out of this sharper, colder, a hell of a lot more dangerous to anyone who thought they could manipulate me. My phone was straight up having a seizure with notifications. Jen sending paragraph after paragraph, scrambling to gaslight me. Nothing happened, you're being paranoid. I would never cheat. Jake trying to call, stammering in voicemails about how he needed to explain. Explain what? That he was weak? That he let this bullshit happen? That he wasn't man enough to shut it down the second it started? I didn't need their excuses. Block them both. Let them drown in the mess they made. After Juren realized I wasn't going to respond to her fucking messages, she switched tactics completely. It drove her crazy that I didn't give a shit about her the moment she cheated. And instead of begging for forgiveness or trying to explain, she went full offensive. Started this massive campaign to make me look like the bad guy. First, it started on social media. She's posting these vague stories about toxic men and controlling relationships. You know the type. Those quotes about, if he doesn't trust you to have male friends, that's a red flag type stuff. Never mentioned me by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Then she started telling people I was checking her phone while she slept. Me, the guy who builds security systems for a living and respects privacy so much I won't even use biometric locks. She told everyone I had jealousy issues and would flip out if she talked to male coworkers. Meanwhile, I literally hired 3 women devs last month for our company because they were the best candidates. The real crazy part? She edited our old text conversations. Like actually took time to Photoshop text to make me look controlling. She showed people these fake screenshots where I'm supposedly forbidding her from going to work events or talking to colleagues. Anyone who knows me knows I literally never text in full sentences. It's all GIFs and emoji, but people believed her anyway. You know what's wild? Some of our friends, people I've known since college, straight up ghosted me without even asking for my side. My cousin Lisa, who introduced us at prom, calls me screaming about how she never thought I could be such a monster. Like, we grew up together? You really think I turned into some controlling psycho overnight? The business stuff was the worst, though. Jen told Amy, her friend who works at this company we do lots of contracts with, that I was emotionally abusive. Amy tells her boss, who tells other people, and suddenly clients are getting concerned about working with us. Had 3 clients pull out of deals we'd been working on for months. Lost about half our friend group. These dudes I used to game with every weekend, guys who came to all my track days and helped me work on my bike, just straight up believed her. One of them even posted this long Facebook status about standing with victims and tagged a bunch of our mutual friends. Like, bro, we were literally playing Warzone together last week and you never saw any red flags? The car scene got weird too. Jen went to one of our local meets, first time in months, BTW, and told everyone there I was trying to control what she wore and who she talked to. Some of these guys I've known since high school started giving me looks at meets, like I was some kind of monster. Even my parents started asking questions. My mom called asking if I needed to talk to someone about anger management. My mom, who literally last month was telling me I needed to be more assertive at work. Dad at least took my side, but it caused this whole fight between them. Started losing sleep, couldn't focus at work. Jake's still sending emails trying to explain, but I'm not reading them. Jen's friends are messaging me saying I need to take accountability and look at my toxic behaviors. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, am I going crazy? It got so bad that I started recording all my calls and saving every text conversation. Started avoiding local spots because I didn't want to deal with the looks. Even switched gyms because people were talking behind my back at my old one. My bike in the garage became my only safe space. Can't have drama when it's just you and a wrench, you know? The worst was when one of our biggest clients, this startup we'd been working with since they had like 5 employees, called a meeting to discuss concerns about our company culture. Had to sit there for 2 hours explaining that no, I'm not an abuser, and yes, we do respect women in tech. Almost lost a $200,000 contract because my ex decided to play victim. I was seriously thinking about getting lawyers involved. Like, this isn't just relationship drama anymore. She's messing with my business, my reputation, my whole life. Started documenting everything, saving screenshots, asking people to send me the stuff she was saying about me. My brother kept telling me to just wait it out, that the truth would come out eventually. Easy for him to say. He wasn't the one watching his whole life get torn apart on social media. One night, I was in the office staying late, trying to fix this mess with our clients. Got energy drinks everywhere, haven't shaved in days, probably looking like some code zombie. My work Discord starts blowing up. Everyone in our friend group chat is tagging me. I almost ignored it, been avoiding group chats since everything went down. But then I see it's screenshots of an email Kate sent to everyone. This wasn't just some regular email either. This was a full-on confession with receipts. Turns out Kate had been running this whole loyalty test thing behind the scenes. Why? 'Cause she's apparently one of those people who thinks everyone's gonna cheat eventually, so she wanted to test Jake before marrying him. Her master plan is to get Jen to try to seduce Jake. Absolute bullshit plans. Kate had been working on Jen for months. All those networking events and professional development meetups. Just Kate manipulating Jen, telling her how Jake was more successful than me, how she could upgrade her life by getting with him. Kate shared all the texts between her and Jen. It's straight up crazy to read. Kate, don't you think Jake has more ambition? OP seems stuck in his garage lifestyle. Jen, OP's building his business though. Kate, but Jake's the real brains behind it. Everyone knows that. She'd been feeding Jen this BS for months, playing on every little insecurity, telling her I was holding her back from some imaginary perfect life. Even helped her pick out that red dress, saying it was the kind of thing Jake's type would wear. And the Valentine's party, Kate planned the whole thing. She knew exactly what she was doing, putting Jen and Jake next to each other, getting everyone to watch how Jake would react. Even the drink spill was planned. Kate had suggested it as a classic move. But what Kate didn't plan is that somewhere along the line, Jen actually caught feelings for Jake, started believing all Kate's manipulation. That's why she kept pushing even after the party disaster. Kate's texts show she was freaking out because this wasn't part of her plan. She just wanted to test Jake, not actually have Jen try to steal him. And the apartment conversation was Jen going rogue. Kate's email shows she was texting Jen to back off, saying the test was done. But Jen wasn't playing anymore. She was fully trying to get with Jake. Kate was pressured to confess because Jake found the texts on her phone and flipped out. Turns out he had no idea about any of this. He'd been trying to handle Jen's advances quietly because he didn't want to cause drama in our friend group. He thought he was protecting our friendship by not telling me, The email included screenshots of everything. Kate coaching Jen on how to dress and act, their conversations planning the Valentine's party, Jen's messages getting more and more obsessed with Jake, Kate trying to shut it down when it got too real, Jake's messages to Kate when he found out everyone who believed Jen's lies about me being controlling got to see how she was working with Kate to create fake evidence. All those edited screenshots she showed people, Kate helped her make them. The group chat exploded. People started sending me private apologies. And those friends who posted about standing with victims got real quiet now. My cousin Lisa called crying, saying she should have known better. But here's the thing that really gets me. This whole mess started because Kate couldn't trust Jake. She literally created the exact situation she was afraid of. And Jen? She threw away a 10-year relationship because she got played by someone who was supposed to be her friend. I didn't respond to any of the apologies. Just sat in my garage, working on the bike, trying to process everything. Jake kept blowing up my phone, but honestly, I didn't even know what to say to him anymore. Then Kate's email exposed everything, and suddenly, I had to deal with the business side of this mess first. Jake and I built this company from nothing, but after everything, there was no way I could keep working with him. Here's the thing about starting a business with your best friend. You never think about what happens if it all goes wrong. We had clients worth millions, contracts that needed both of us, code that only he knew how to maintain. Real mess. Jake kept trying to fix things. Showed up at the office at 7 a.m. every day, leaving notes on my desk about how sorry he was, how he should have told me about Jen's weird behavior. But bro code exists for a reason. You tell your boy when his girl's acting sus. That's just basic friendship 101. I had to call an emergency meeting with our lawyers. Spent 12 hours straight figuring out how to split the company. Jake offered to buy me out, said I could take any clients I wanted. But nah, I built this thing too. Ended up doing a clean 50-50 split. I kept our original company name and half the clients. He started his own thing. Some of our developers had to choose sides. Most of the ones I hired stuck with me, which was cool. Lost some good coders to Jake's new company. But that's business, I guess. At least the clients understood. Turns out company restructuring sounds better than my business partner let my girlfriend try to seduce him as part of his fiance's weird loyalty test. Then Jen shows up at my office one day. Not even kidding. Walks in wearing normal clothes for once. Jeans and a hoodie like how she used to dress. Carrying 2 cups of coffee like it's just another morning. My new secretary had to hire one after everything. Tried to stop her. But Jen just walked right past. She starts crying the moment she sees me, saying she got caught up in Kate's mind games and lost sight of what mattered. Says she misses riding on the back of my bike, watching me work on projects, playing games together. Actually tried to hand me a controller, saying we could go back to how things were. I just sat there listening to her whole speech about how Kate manipulated her, how she got carried away with the test, how she never meant to catch feelings for Jake. Then she hits me with, I was just playing a role that got out of hand. That's when I realized this wasn't even about being sorry. This was about her losing her perfect life plan. Jake didn't want her. Kate wasn't her friend anymore. And all those networking connections she made were gone. She was trying to go back to her backup plan. Me. I told her to leave and never come back. Had security flag her photo just in case. Blocked her on everything. Even LinkedIn because she kept trying to message me there. The whole mess actually helped my business in the end. Turns out some clients prefer working with drama-free companies. Got 3 new contracts last week. Bigger than anything we had before. Even hired 2 new developers. One's a girl who rides a Ducati Monster, which is pretty sick. Speaking of bikes, something good actually came out of this whole mess. Been hanging at this local CrossFit gym my brother goes to, trying to keep my mind off everything. And that's where I met Emma. Noticed her Sportster 883 in the parking lot one day. Almost did a double take because you don't see many gym owners who ride. Turns out she's legit into bikes, not just for show. We got talking after a class about mods she's planning for her Sportster, and she actually knew what she was talking about. Not the usual, my ex had a bike kind of conversation. She was breaking down gear ratios and talking about different cam options. She's pretty cool. Used to work in tech before opening the gym. She coded their whole booking system herself, rides better than half the guys I know, and there's zero drama. We hit up a track day last weekend. She showed up early, bike already teched, giving tips to the newbies about tire pressure. The car scene's been decent too. Those guys who believed Jen's lies all came around once the truth came out. Even asked me to judge their next show. Probably gonna take Emma. She grew up wrenching on Chevelles with her dad, so she actually gets it. And Jake? He moved to Seattle after he and Kate split. Friends say he's finding himself or whatever. Cool. Hope he finds his spine while he's at it. Business is solid now. Got my garage back, finally moved all my tools from storage, and life's settling down. Been teaching Emma some bike maintenance when she asks. And she actually wants to learn, not just pretending for social media. First time I showed her how to adjust her chain tension, she looks at me all serious and goes, "Man, if I'm gonna trust this bike with my life at 80 miles per hour, I better know how to take care of it properly." That's when I knew she was different. TLDR. Lost a fake Instagram model, found someone who can actually ride. Sometimes life has a way of working out. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. RIP my inbox. For everyone asking, yes, Emma really rides. No, it's not another test, LMAO. And no, I'm not going to be Jake's best man at his next wedding. Edit 2. Yes, still have the street bob. No, Jen never got her hoodie collection back. Some things you just gotta let go of. Final edit. Guys, stop DMing me asking for Emma's Gym's Instagram. She's not looking for followers, she's looking for PRs. Story 4. This story is titled, Wife Cheated with Her Boss and Daughters Covered for Her. So I served her divorce papers, disowned them, and changed my will. So I guess I'm doing this. Typing all this shit out for strangers on the internet because I have literally nobody else to talk to right now. My life just got nuked, and I can't even process half of what's happened, but maybe writing it out will help. Or not. Whatever. Me and my wife Melanie have been together for almost 30 years. Got together when she was 19 and I was 22. We were broke out back then, living in some shitty apartment that always smelled like the last tenant's cats no matter how much we cleaned. But we were happy, just figuring shit out together, making it work. We started with nothing and built everything ourselves. Had 2 daughters, Olivia, 26 female, and Zoe, 24 female. Olivia was always the smart one, valedictorian, top of her class in college, working some fancy corporate job now. She's engaged to this finance bro named Ethan. Wedding's supposed to be this October. Zoe's more laid back, into art and stuff. She's always been a daddy's girl. At least I thought she was. Like any marriage, we had our rough patches. Money was tight when the girls were little. I worked construction, sometimes 2 jobs, while Melanie waited tables and got her degree. We fought about stupid shit, but we always figured it out. That's marriage, right? You stick it out. You don't just bail when things get hard. But lately, I don't know, something felt off. Melanie started acting differently the past few months. Nothing major, just little things. Like, she suddenly became super protective of her phone. One time I picked it up just to check the time. Mine was charging, and she practically dove across the room to grab it from me. Said something about privacy and boundaries. We've been married 30 years. Since when do we have phone boundaries? Then there's these girls' nights she started doing with Olivia and Zoe. They used to get together maybe once a month, which was cool. I always thought it was great they were close. But it started to be every other week, sometimes more. And when I ask what they did or where they went, I get these vague answers. Just dinner. Just catching up. Melanie used to come home and tell me all the gossip and stuff they talked about. About 6 months ago, I came home early from a business trip. The client meeting got canceled, so I caught an earlier flight. When I walked in, Melanie was on the phone, but she hung up crazy fast when she saw me. Said it was just Olivia. But when I asked what they were talking about, she got all weird and changed the subject. There was this one time I walked into the kitchen and caught Zoe mid-sentence, saying something low to Melanie. I didn't catch all of it, just something like, "Do you think he knows?" They both turned to look at me, eyes a little wide like I'd startled them. "What are you two whispering about?" I asked, half laughing. Melanie recovered quickly, giving me this casual smile. "Oh, just talking about something for later. Nothing you need to worry about." Zoe chimed in, a little too eagerly. "Yeah, it's just a surprise thing. You'll find out soon enough." I raised an eyebrow. "A surprise? For what?" "Just something fun," Melanie said, brushing past me to grab something from the fridge. "You'll see." I figured if they were planning for my birthday, because it was around the corner. And then there was that other night when Melanie told me she was visiting her sister in Columbus for the weekend. No big deal. I didn't think twice about it. A few days later, I was talking to Olivia on the phone, just catching up, when she casually mentioned how her mom had gotten a nice tan. I frowned. A tan? In Ohio? In February? There was the tiniest pause, barely noticeable, but something about it made me feel like I'd said the wrong thing. Then Olivia laughed a little. "Oh yeah, we went to a tanning place together before she left. It was kind of a random thing. It didn't seem like a big deal, so I just shrugged it off. But then I started noticing how Melanie's been dressing differently, buying new clothes, wearing makeup more often, started going to the gym 3 times a week. Good for her, I guess, but it seemed to come out of nowhere. Oh, and she bought herself this silver bracelet a few months back. Said it was a career milestone reward or something. It looks expensive. When I asked how much it cost, she got defensive. Said I never cared about her treating herself before. Which isn't true. I've always told her to buy stuff she wants if we can afford it. Through all this, I kept thinking, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's just empty nest syndrome or something. Both girls were out of the house now, so it was just us. People change after 30 years, right? That's normal. I didn't want to be that jealous, controlling husband who freaks out when his wife gets a new haircut or spends more time with our kids. That's not me. Never has been. I've always trusted Melanie completely. But there was this nagging feeling I couldn't shake. Like something wasn't right. Like I was missing something obvious. And then, on a completely ordinary Tuesday, everything fell apart. I was at work, managing a construction site, nothing special. Around lunchtime, I checked my email, scrolling through the usual junk, when something caught my eye. A message with the subject line, "Your wife is cheating on you." My first thought was, it's just a spam. Some scam like those Nigerian prince emails. But something made me open it anyway. The email was short. Melanie's been screwing her boss Richard for over a year. Everyone at the company knows except you. Thought you deserved to know. And there was a video attached. I sat in my truck for like 20 minutes, just staring at my phone. Part of me didn't want to watch it. Like if I didn't see it, maybe it wasn't real. But eventually I clicked play. The video was from what looked like a company Christmas party. You could see Melanie in the background sitting close to some guy I recognized as her boss, Richard. They weren't doing anything too crazy, just talking real close. Then the camera moved to this drunk woman I vaguely recognized from when I'd picked Melanie up from work a few times. "Oh my God, is that her husband?" the drunk woman asked whoever was filming. "No, just recording the party," a woman's voice behind the camera said. "But tell me what you were saying about Melanie and Richard." The drunk woman laughed and said, "Everyone knows they've been fucking for like a year. They think they're so sneaky, but come on. Those business trips they take together? The way they disappear during lunch? He even bought her that bracelet she always wears. The fucking bracelet. The silver one, she said, was her career milestone reward. I felt like my whole world crumbled. The camera person's voice came through the speakers. "How's she getting away with it?" The drunk woman laughed, swirling her drink. "Oh, she's got it covered. Got her whole routine down. Excuses, little white lies. People think she's working late, out shopping, whatever. But nah, she's with him." The video cut off. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like the air had been sucked out of my truck. I didn't know who sent it, but I had a pretty good guess. Vanessa. She worked with Melanie, always had tension with her after Melanie got promoted over her last year. This had to be her way of getting back at her. I tried to brush it off, just gossip, drunk talk from someone with a grudge. But the longer I sat there, the more pieces started snapping into place. The girls' nights, the vague answers, the weird phone calls, the bracelet. I couldn't go back to work. My hands were shaking too much. I told my foreman I had a family emergency and just drove. Not home, though. I couldn't face that place. I ended up at my buddy Dave's house. He took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I didn't say anything. Just pulled out my phone, hit play, and handed it to him. "Holy shit, man," Dave said when the video ended. "What are you gonna do?" I had no clue. All I could think about is that I wanted to confront Melanie right away, but another part of me needed more proof. The video could have just been office gossip from someone with a grudge, right? It wasn't enough. That night, I stayed at Dave's, told Melanie I had an emergency at a job site and wouldn't be home for 2 days. She didn't even hesitate, just said, "Okay, be safe." Like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't lying straight to my face. The ease of it made me sick. The next evening, she texted me saying she was having her usual dinner with the girls. "Just a little midweek catch-up," she said, grabbing her coat. "Don't wait up." I told her to have fun and got out from Dave's apartment. I drove across town and parked outside the restaurant where Olivia and Zoe usually met her. I sat there for 20 minutes, expecting to see her walk in, but she never did. Then, through the window, I spotted Olivia and Zoe at their usual table. No Melanie. I gripped my phone and texted Olivia. "Hey, just wondering, did Mom make it to dinner yet?" A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. "Yeah, she's here." "Why?" I stared at the message, my stomach twisting. The truth hit me like a brick to the chest. They were fucking lying. They'd been lying this whole time, covering their mom up, making up stories, looking me in the eye and feeding me bullshit while she was off with him. I clenched my jaw and checked the tracker app on my phone, the one we'd installed on each other's phones ages ago for safety reasons. Her dot wasn't at the restaurant. It was across town, at an upscale Italian place. I knew before I even got there what I'd find, but seeing it still felt like a gut punch. Through the window, there she was, sitting next to Richard, so close to him technically on his lap, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. She leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder. They weren't even trying to hide it. I almost threw up. I took out my phone and snapped pictures. A lot of them. Then I opened our family group chat. The one with not just Melanie, Olivia, and Zoe, but my parents, my siblings, her siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. I attached the photos and typed out one message. Hope you're enjoying your dinner with the girls, Melanie. Looks like your boss is enjoying it too. I hit send. Immediately, my phone started blowing up. Olivia, Dad? What are you talking about? Zoe, what's going on? My sister, what the hell is this? My mom, is this some kind of mistake? Melanie's brother, Mel, what is he talking about? My cousin, dude, WTF. My dad, call me. I didn't answer any of them. What was I supposed to say? Just found out my wife of 30 years has been screwing her boss, and my daughters have been covering for her. How's your evening going? I spent the rest of the day driving around, trying to figure out what to say. By the time I got home, they were all there sitting in the living room, looking worried. Dad, what's going on? Olivia asked as soon as I walked in. We've been freaking out. I didn't say anything at first, just pulled out my phone, opened the pictures I'd taken, and handed it to Melanie. Her face went white instantly. Who sent you these? She whispered. I took them. Today, after I got this. Then I played the video. The room went dead silent. Zoe started crying. Olivia just stared at the floor. Melanie kept shaking her head like she could make it all disappear if she tried hard enough. How long? I demanded. Melanie wouldn't answer. It was Olivia who spoke up first. Dad, you need to understand. How long? I shouted, making them all jump. 15 months, Melanie admitted, barely audible. And you too? I looked at my daughters. How long have you been covering for your mother? Lying to my face? Making me look like a fucking idiot? Zoe was sobbing now. Daddy, I'm so sorry. Mom said it was just temporary, that she was going through something. Shut up! Melanie snapped at her. Just shut up, Zoe. No, let her talk, I said. I want to hear exactly how my family conspired behind my back. I stood there staring at my family, who suddenly felt like strangers. Olivia trying to take control of the situation like always. Zoe crying her eyes out, and Melanie looking like she'd seen a ghost. It wasn't like that, Olivia said, her voice all calm and professional. Always the composed one. Mom was unhappy. You were so wrapped up in work, always gone on those long projects. Are you seriously blaming me right now? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm not blaming you, she said, but her tone said otherwise. I'm just saying there were reasons. You weren't exactly there for her emotionally. You never wanted to talk about real stuff. You were physically present, but mentally checked out. I stared at my oldest daughter, this stranger defending her mother's affair. So that justifies her fucking her boss? That makes it okay for you to lie to me for over a year? No, but there's no but, I was shouting again. There's no excuse for this. None! Melanie finally spoke up. I was going to end it. I was trying to find the right time to what? Come clean? Or leave me? Which was it? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. You know what kills me? I said, looking at all three of them. It's not even the affair. I mean, that's fucked up, don't get me wrong. But it's the lying, the conspiracy. The three of you sitting around the dinner table with me, laughing, acting normal, all while knowing this huge secret. Do you have any idea how stupid that makes me feel? We didn't want to hurt you, Zoe whispered, still crying. Well, congratulations. You failed spectacularly at that, I snapped. The hurt in her eyes made me feel a twinge of guilt, but I was too angry to care. So what now? Olivia asked. Always practical. Already thinking about next steps while I was still trying to process the bomb that just went off in my life. Now? Now I want all of you out of this house, I said quietly. I can't even look at any of you right now. Dad, please, Zoe begged. Let's talk about this. I know I messed up. I just didn't know what to do. Get out, I shouted. I'm serious. All of you, get out. They left, Melanie and Olivia practically dragging a hysterical Zoe. As the door closed, I collapsed on the couch feeling like someone had ripped my heart out and stomped on it. The house felt so empty, so quiet. I walked around looking at all our family photos. I was fuming, grabbed the nearest photo, us at Olivia's college graduation, and smashed it against the wall. The glass shattered, which felt satisfying for about 2 seconds. Then I just felt worse. I didn't sleep that night, Just sat on the couch staring at nothing, trying to make sense of everything. My phone kept buzzing with texts and calls from all three of them, but I ignored it. What was there to say? The next few days were a blur. I took time off work, told my boss it was a family emergency. Technically not a lie. I barely left the couch. Didn't really eat. Didn't shower. Just sat there replaying every moment of the last year, looking for signs I missed. Dave came by to check on me, brought food I didn't eat. He wanted me to go stay with him. Said it wasn't good for me to be alone in the house with all the memories. But I couldn't move. Couldn't do anything. My phone kept blowing up. Melanie's messages went from apologetic, "I'm so sorry, please let me explain," to angry, "You're being childish, we need to talk like adults," to manipulative, "I'm worried about you. Please just let me know you're okay." I ignored them all. Melanie was nothing to me now. After everything I gave to this marriage, after 30 years of sacrifice, hard work, and loyalty, she threw it all away for some cheap affair. Fine, that was her choice. She could enjoy her boss. I didn't care. But Olivia and Zoe? That was the real knife to the gut. My own daughters. The kids I raised, protected, provided for, they had been part of this. They had known. And worse, they had helped her, lied for her, covered for her, looked me in the eye, sat across from me at the dinner table, and acted like nothing was wrong. That betrayal was something I couldn't shake. Olivia sent one text. "What you're doing is unfair to everyone. When you're ready to have a mature conversation about this, let me know." Entitled as always. Acting like I was the one who fucked up. I wanted to throw my phone against the wall. Zoe was different. She called constantly, left tearful voicemails. "Daddy, please talk to me. I know I messed up so bad. I was just trying to keep the family together. Mom said if I told you, you'd leave and everything would fall apart. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me." Her messages were the hardest to ignore. She'd always been my little girl. The one who'd bring me dandelions and call them flowers. The one who'd fall asleep on my chest watching cartoons. But now all I could see was her lying to my face, helping Melanie sneak around behind my back. After a week of this, Dave finally convinced me to get my shit together. He was right. I couldn't just sit there feeling sorry for myself. I needed to take action. So I called a lawyer that Dave recommended. "With the evidence you have, you're in a good position," the lawyer told me after I showed him the video and pictures. "But you need to be smart about this. Don't leave the house. That can be seen as abandonment. Don't empty the bank accounts, but do move half the money to a separate account she can't access. And document everything." I followed his advice. Stayed in the house, moved money, changed the locks. Started documenting every interaction. Melanie showed up one day with Olivia, demanding to be let in to get her things. I recorded the whole thing on my phone, standing in the doorway while they called me every name in the book. "You can get your stuff when my lawyer says you can," I told them calmly, which just pissed them off more. "I'm getting married in 2 months," Olivia shouted. "Are you really going to ruin that because Mom made a mistake?" "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill," I said. "What your mother did was a choice. A series of choices made every day for 15 months. And what you did was just as bad. I was protecting my family. No, you were protecting your mother's affair. There's a difference." They eventually left, but not before Olivia said, "I'm still expecting you to pay for the wedding. You promised." The fucking audacity of this girl. I just closed the door in her face. All I could do after 2 weeks since I discovered that shit is trying to keep it together, going through the motions. Wake up, go to work, come home, stare at walls, try to sleep, repeat. Dave and a couple other buddies keep checking on me, inviting me out for beers or to watch games, but I turn them down most of the time. Just didn't have the energy to be social. Zoe's kept trying to reach out, calling, texting, even showed up at my job site once. I finally agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, not ready to forgive her, but at least willing to listen. She looked like shit. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, wearing the same hoodie she's had since high school. "I'm so sorry, Dad," she said as soon as I sat down. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am." "I should have told you." "Why didn't you?" I asked. "That's the question that keeps me up at night." Mom said she was going through a midlife crisis thing, that she just needed to get it out of her system, and if you found out, you'd never forgive her. She said it would destroy our family. So instead, you destroyed my trust. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I know, it was wrong. But you were always working, Dad. Always at job sites, always stressed about money. Mom was lonely. And I'm not saying that makes it okay," she added quickly. "What she did was wrong. But maybe if you'd been around more, talked to her more, noticed she was unhappy." And there it was. Even in her apology, she was still blaming me, still making excuses. I worked my ass off to give you and your sister everything, I said quietly, to put you through college, to make sure we had a nice house, nice cars, vacations. If your mother was unhappy, she could have talked to me. She could have suggested counseling. She could have asked for a divorce. Instead, she cheated. And you helped her. I know, she whispered. I'm just trying to explain, not excuse. I wasn't sure I believed that. But looking at her, I couldn't just walk away like I'd planned. She's still my daughter. But I don't know if I'll ever trust her again. I need time, I told her. I don't know if I can ever trust you the way I used to. I understand, she said, wiping away tears. Thank you for meeting me. As I watched her walk away, I was torn between wanting to call her back and wanting to cut her out of my life completely. Meanwhile, the divorce is moving along. Melanie's fighting for half of everything, including my retirement account that I'd started before we even met. She wants the house, alimony, the works, claims she sacrificed her career for our family, even though she's been working full-time since Zoe started elementary school. And get this, Olivia's still sending me wedding bills, venue deposits, florist payments, dress alterations. The fucking nerve. I don't respond, but each new demand makes me angrier. One night I got a text from Ethan, Olivia's fiancé, texted me asking to meet for coffee. He wanted to understand what really happened. When we met, he admitted Olivia didn't know he was there. She'd be furious if she found out. She told him that I was overreacting to a brief affair, kicked them all out, and refused to pay for the wedding out of spite. He hadn't fully believed it, noticing Olivia had been acting secretive. I laid it all out, the video, the 15-month affair, how both girls had covered for Melanie. By the end, he looked sick. He had no idea it was this bad. At that point, I was still trying to figure out what to do about Olivia and Zoe. Cutting them off completely felt drastic, but after everything, could I ever trust them again? Rebuilding seemed impossible when I wasn't even sure if they truly regretted what they had done. But one thing was certain, Melanie and I were finished. There was no coming back from that level of betrayal. So, I filed for divorce. Work became my escape. I had to keep the money coming in, especially with the divorce set to drain me dry. My crew knew something was up, but they didn't ask questions when I zoned out or needed a minute. They just gave me space, which I appreciated. The divorce turned ugly fast. Melanie's lawyer tried spinning the narrative, painting me as a neglectful workaholic who had pushed her into the affair. My lawyer suggested settling to avoid dragging it out, but I refused. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about principle. Ethan called me again yesterday. Apparently, he had a big fight with Olivia after our talk. He started asking questions about the affair, and she flipped out, accused him of taking my side and betraying her trust. The irony is fucking staggering. I'm having serious doubts about the wedding, he told me. If she can lie about something this big, what else is she keeping from me? Smart kid. Cheaters protect cheaters. I told him exactly that. Someone who can justify lying to their father for over a year can justify lying to anyone. Speaking of Olivia, she sent me this long email last week, full of psychobabble bullshit about how I need to process my feelings and work through my anger so we can heal as a family. Like we're all just going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya after what they did. She even had the balls to include more wedding expense forms I needed to sign. Zoe's been different. After our coffee shop talk, she's backed off a bit. Sends me texts every few days. Nothing pushy, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay? Thinking about you. Love you, Dad. I don't usually respond, but I don't block her either. Don't know why? Maybe some part of me isn't ready to completely let go. Dave's been a rock through all this. Last weekend, he convinced me to go fishing with him and some buddies. It was the first time in weeks I went hours without thinking about the shitstorm my life's become. Then my lawyer called with some interesting news. Apparently, Melanie's trying to sell off some of our joint assets before the divorce is finalized. She accidentally mentioned to a mutual friend that she and her boss are planning a big trip to Europe once all this unpleasantness is over. Fucking unbelievable. Hector got an emergency injunction to freeze everything. One small victory. I still didn't know what to do about Olivia and Zoe. I loved them, but every time I started to soften, I remembered the lies. The fake girls' nights, the way they covered for Melanie, warning her when I asked questions. They didn't just know. They actively helped her. For 15 months, they chose her affair over my right to the truth. Olivia's wedding was coming up, and somehow she still expected me to walk her down the aisle. She even sent a guilt-tripping text about how my issues with Melanie shouldn't affect her special day. Like that was what mattered, not the family she helped destroy. I didn't respond. Anything I'd say would end with me telling her exactly where to go. I thought about just leaving, selling the house, moving somewhere new, starting fresh, But that felt like letting them win. Like I was the one who did something wrong. And just when I thought this shit show couldn't get any worse, life decided to throw another curveball my way. I was meeting with my lawyer about the divorce when he mentioned checking social media for anything that might help our case. I'm not on that stuff, I told him. Well, Melanie is, he said, turning his laptop toward me. And you might want to see this. It was Melanie's Facebook page. There was a post from a few days ago, a photo of her, Richard, and Olivia at some fancy restaurant. The caption read, "So blessed to be surrounded by love as we blend our families. Richard has officially proposed, wedding planning for us after we help Olivia with hers. Engaged, engaged." The divorce wasn't even finalized yet, and they weren't even trying to hide it anymore. And Olivia was right there with them, celebrating the relationship that destroyed our family. In the comments, she'd written, "So happy for you guys. Can't wait to have 2 weddings to celebrate." I felt so dumb. Here I was still reeling from the affair, still waking up every morning with that sick feeling, and they were already playing happy families. Planning a fucking wedding. There was more. Another post showed Richard helping Olivia with wedding preparations. Apparently he's paying for the stuff I refused to cover. Playing the hero. And in one photo, Olivia's calling him her bonus dad. Bonus dad. What the actual fuck? That was it. The final straw. In that moment, something inside me just snapped. All the hurt, all the betrayal, all the months of second-guessing myself crystallized into a cold clarity. I want to change my will, I told the lawyer. I want Melanie to get nothing beyond what the law requires. And I want both Olivia and Zoe removed as beneficiaries. Hector looked surprised. Are you sure? That's a big step. I'm sure, I said. They made their choices. Now I'm making mine. When I got home that night, I got a call from Ethan. He was done. Broke things off with Olivia after finding texts between her and Melanie, planning how to manipulate me into paying for the wedding. They had this whole strategy mapped out. How Olivia would guilt-trip me. How they'd use mutual friends to pressure me. The works. You were right about her, he said. I'm sorry, sir. I thought you should know. I thanked him, actually feeling bad for the kid. He dodged a bullet, but it still had to hurt. Later, I got a call from Zoe. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Apparently, she'd had a huge fight with Melanie and Olivia after finding out about the engagement and the social media posts. They didn't even tell me, she sobbed. I found out from Facebook like everyone else. And when I asked Mom how she could get engaged when you two aren't even divorced yet, she said I needed to grow up and get with the program. Olivia took her side, of course, said I was being childish and dramatic. Part of me felt a flicker of hope that maybe Zoe was finally seeing the truth. But then she said, I just don't understand why you can't all try to work this out. Why does everyone have to be so extreme? Mom made a mistake, but I cut her off. 15 months isn't a mistake, Zoe. And neither is lying to my face every day for months. Those are choices. Choices all of you made. I know, she said quickly. I know that. I'm not defending what she did, or what I did. I miss how things used to be. Things were never how they used to be, I said. It was all a lie. And I'm done. What do you mean, done? She asked, sounding scared. I mean, I'm moving on. With my life. Without any of you. She started crying harder. Dad, please. I know I fucked up. I know that. But I'm trying here. I'm really trying. It's too late, I said. I've already changed my will. You and Olivia are out of it. Dead silence on the other end. Then, you what? You heard me. I met with my lawyer today. Everything goes to my brother now. But Dad, that's not, you can't just, I can, and I did. You all made your choices. Now I've made mine. She hung up. I expected to feel guilty, but instead I felt lighter. Like I'd finally cut loose an anchor that had been dragging me down. The next day, all hell broke loose. Olivia sent a barrage of texts calling me petty, vindictive, cruel. Melanie had her lawyer contact Hector about my retaliatory actions. Even some mutual friends reached out, saying I was being too harsh, that I should think about reconciliation for the sake of the family. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. I slept through the night. No dreams about the way things used to be. No waking up with that sick feeling. Just peaceful, dreamless sleep. At that time, I realized that the family I thought I had never existed. It was a mirage. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's better to live in truth, even a painful truth, than in a comfortable lie. Final update. It's been 5 months since everything went down. I figured I'd give you guys an update. The divorce is final. Melanie didn't get nearly what she wanted, thanks to Hector's badass lawyering and all the evidence I had. She got some cash and her car, but not the house or my retirement. She and Richard got married 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized. Classy. I sold the house. Too many memories, good and bad. Bought a smaller place closer to work in a different neighborhood. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. No ghosts, no lies. After I changed my will and told Zoe about it, she showed up at my door the next day, crying and begging me to reconsider. Said she'd do anything to make things right. I told her I appreciated it, but my decision was final. When she realized I wasn't budging, something changed in her. She got quiet, then cold. "So that's it?" she asked. 30 years as a family and you're just throwing it all away? I didn't throw anything away, I told her. You all did that when you decided to lie to me for over a year. She left and I haven't heard from her since. Apparently she's moved in with Melanie and Richard. One big happy family. Olivia got married last month to some doctor she met right after Ethan left her. They didn't invite me. I didn't expect them to. I heard from mutual friends that Richard walked her down the aisle. That stung for about a minute. Then I realized I didn't actually care. The thing about cutting toxic people out of your life is that it hurts like hell at first. But then you start to notice how much lighter you feel, how much more energy you have, how much clearer your head is. I've been seeing someone for a couple months now. I'll call her Jess. Met her at a friend's barbecue. She's divorced too. Understands the baggage that comes with that. We're taking it slow, but it's good. Really good. She knows my whole story and doesn't judge me for cutting off my daughters. She gets it in a way most people don't. Her ex cheated on her with her sister, so she knows all about family betrayal. Do I miss Olivia and Zoe? Sometimes. Usually when I see a father with his adult daughters out to dinner, or when I hear a song they used to like, or on their birthdays. But it's more like missing the idea of them, the daughters I thought I had. The real ones? The ones who lied to my face for months? Nah, don't miss them at all. A few weeks ago, I ran into Ethan at a sports bar. He's doing well, dating someone new. He told me Olivia had reached out to him recently, saying she'd made a huge mistake and wanted another chance. He turned her down. You taught me something important, he said. About self-respect. About not letting people treat you like you don't matter. That meant a lot, hearing that. At least something good came out of this whole mess. Last week, I finalized my new will with my lawyer. Most of my stuff goes to my brother and his kids, who've been my rock through all this. I also set up a small scholarship fund at the local community college for students in the construction management program. Figured I might as well help some kids who actually appreciate the opportunity. Jess and I are talking about moving in together next year. Taking it slow, but the direction feels right. She makes me laugh, calls me on my bullshit, and doesn't have a single relative who stabbed me in the back. Major upgrade. Sometimes people ask if I regret my decision to cut Olivia and Zoe off completely. They say things like, "But they're your daughters," or "family is forever," or some other Hallmark card bullshit. My answer is always the same. Family isn't just about blood. It's about trust, respect, loyalty. Things my daughters showed me they don't have. Maybe someday one of them will genuinely realize what they did and apologize without excuses or blame shifting. Maybe pigs will fly too. I'm not holding my breath for either. What I've learned through all this is that you can't control what others do, only how you respond. Melanie chose to cheat. Olivia and Zoe chose to enable and cover for her. And I chose to walk away from all of them. The hardest part wasn't the affair itself, as devastating as that was. It was realizing that my daughters, the people I would have done anything for, could betray me like that, could lie to my face day after day, could help break my heart, and then blame me for not being happy about it. But here's the thing. Once you accept that the people you loved aren't who you thought they were, you can start to build a life that's real. Not based on lies or false obligations, but on genuine connections with people who actually give a shit about you. So yeah, I'm doing better than I ever expected to be. This isn't the life I planned, but it's a good one, an honest one. And that's worth more than any family that's built on lies. Story 5. My fiancé ghosted me a week before the wedding. No calls, no explanation. Then I found out she was having closure with her ex. So I sold the ring and canceled everything. A few days later, she showed up crying at my job. Hey everyone. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit. So I was supposed to get married in 1 week when this shit happened. My fiancé disappeared and didn't answer my calls. For a moment, I thought I'd find her dead in a ditch. Nope, she just needed some space. Apparently with her ex. Here's what went down. Let me set the scene before I dive into the nightmare. I'm 30 male, A project manager at a construction company. 5 years ago, I met Lucy, 29 female, at my buddy's housewarming. She was smart, gorgeous, and laughed at my jokes. Fast forward through dating, moving in together, the proposal, nailed it with a rooftop dinner, and we're planning our wedding. Everything was perfect except for one constant thorn in my side. Natalie, Lucy's college bestie and self-appointed guardian of female empowerment. Picture this chick. Yoga pants 24/7, constantly posting those inspirational quotes on Instagram, and always had something negative to say about me. This woman would roll her eyes whenever I spoke like it was her full-time job. My older brother Luke never trusted her. First time he met Natalie at a family BBQ, she started lecturing about toxic masculinity while he was grilling burgers. He just looked her dead in the eyes and said, "The only toxic thing I see is whatever the hell you put in your eyebrows to make them look like two slugs having a standoff." Lucy was pissed, but I nearly choked on my drink. Natalie was perpetually single, but considered herself a relationship expert who needed to protect Lucy from making mistakes. Yeah, one of those. Lucy always defended her. "She's just looking out for me." But every guy in our friend group knew the deal. Natalie was the friend who'd sabotage any relationship just to keep her friends single and miserable like her. Whenever we'd have a group outing, Natalie would find a way to pull Lucy aside for these intense whisper sessions. Lucy would come back with this weird look on her face, suddenly questioning plans we'd already made, or bringing up concerns that were clearly planted by Natalie. I called her out on it once, and Lucy hit me with the classic, "You're just being paranoid" defense. Natalie was like that one coworker who never actually does anything, but somehow ends up on every important email chain. Useless, loud, and constantly trying to add value by stirring the pot. Her whole personality was basically just a walking BuzzFeed quiz about red flags. I should have seen the red flags when Natalie started showing up unannounced at our apartment more frequently as the wedding date approached. She'd arrive with these Pinterest boards of alternative ceremony ideas that always seemed to involve pushing the date back. Or she'd bring over these documentaries about finding yourself before settling down that Lucy would get weirdly quiet after watching. Anyway, our wedding was a week away. 7 days. We'd spent months planning this thing, and I'm sitting in my apartment waiting for Lucy to show up for our final venue meeting. Table placements, meal counts, all that boring shit that suddenly becomes your whole life when you're getting married. 7 p.m. rolls around. No Lucy. Weird, but whatever. I should have known something was off when I realized she hadn't Venmo requested me for her daily overpriced matcha. This woman once reminded me I owed her $3.18 for gas from a Chipotle run. Radio silence was not normal. 8 p.m., still nothing. Multiple texts straight to voicemail. 9 p.m. That sick feeling hits your gut like when you're about to get fired. Lucy's phone is usually glued to her hand 24/7. This girl would text me from the bathroom, from meetings, while driving. I know. But suddenly, radio silence. By 10 p.m., I'm calling everyone we know. Her coworkers haven't seen her since she left work early for our venue appointment. Her gym buddy hasn't heard from her. I even called my buddy Finn, thinking maybe she was planning some surprise with him, but he was as clueless as I was. I call her sister Ashley. Nothing. Her parents. Nothing. By midnight, I'm legit freaking out. Drove to her apartment. Dark. Car gone. I used my emergency key to check inside, thinking maybe she'd fallen and couldn't reach her phone or something equally dramatic. Nothing. Bed made, dishes done, but her overnight bag was missing, along with some clothes from her closet. Filed a missing persons report the next day. The cop looked at me like I was overreacting. "Sir, adults are allowed to go places without telling their partners." I wanted to scream. This wasn't some random disappearance. This was a woman who texted me when she was switching from Instagram to TikTok, who called me on her lunch break every single day, who was supposed to be marrying me in a week. Day 2, her parents start freaking out too. They're calling hospitals, friends, even her old college roommates. Nothing. Her mom is convinced she's been kidnapped. I'm starting to think she might be right, but there's this tiny voice in my head whispering something worse. Day 3, police call. They found her safe and sound, chilling at her college friend Natalie's place 3 hours away. Relief hit me like a truck, followed immediately by the cold realization of what this meant. She wasn't kidnapped or hurt. She just left and told nobody. Not her family. Not me. Nothing. Police say she's safe and needs space. Needs space? A week before our wedding? I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I text her. "What the hell is going on? Are you okay? Is the wedding still on?" No response. I called Natalie's phone. No answer. I emailed Lucy. Nothing. It's like she's gone full witness protection program on me. Except the only crime she's witnessed is her own betrayal. But that wasn't even the full story. Later that night, I get a text from a number I don't recognize. Hey, this is Cindy, Natalie's roommate. We've met a couple times at Lucy's birthday parties. Look, I can't stay silent about this anymore. Lucy isn't just taking space. She's with her ex, Jake. Then comes a picture that felt like a knife to the chest. Lucy and Jake, looking cozy on Natalie's couch, his arm around her. Timestamp, yesterday. Jake. The ex she'd told me not to worry about. The guy she dated for 6 months in college before he couldn't commit. The same dude who conveniently started liking all her Instagram posts again right after we got engaged. Cindy's next text. She told Natalie she needed closure with him before the wedding. Natalie's been encouraging it. I thought you should know. This isn't right. I stared at that text for what felt like hours, my brain unable to process what I was seeing. Closure? A week before our wedding? Apparently in Natalie speak, closure means, let me check if my ex is still an option before I settle for you. I called my brother Luke. He's 38, divorced, and has the emotional sensitivity of a brick, but he's always straight with me. She's at Natalie's with her ex-boyfriend. Silence on the line. Then, well, god damn it, I knew that Natalie chick was bad news. What are you gonna do? After my brain unfroze from the shock, I made a decision. I had to make some calls. Each one felt like getting punched in the face. Venue. $5,000 deposit gone. Poof. Caterer. $3,500 vanished into thin air. Photographer. $2,000. Sorry, but we're booked that day now. Every vendor cancellation call felt like getting dumped all over again by strangers who took your money first. At least Lucy ghosted me for free. These people billed me before breaking my heart. Honeymoon flights, non-refundable. $1,800 down the drain. Resort booking, non-refundable. $7,500 for that dream Maldives getaway Lucy had insisted on. Because apparently her dream was to ghost me a week before committing to me for life. Every call, every email was another nail in the coffin of what was supposed to be our future. All told, I was looking at about $15,000 in losses. And that's just my part. Her parents were handling her dress, and were supposed to pay the florist directly later, but I'd put down the initial booking deposit. Luke sat on my couch, watching me make these calls. When I hung up from the venue, he just shook his head. This is why I got married at the courthouse. Cost me $75. Divorce still cost $20,000, but at least the wedding was cheap. Then there were the calls to family and friends. Weddings off. I didn't tell anyone about Jake, just said things didn't work out. My mom cried. My dad kept asking, "What happened, son?" Like I had any freaking clue how to explain this betrayal. My cousin Pete, who'd booked a flight from Seattle. Dude, are you serious? I just paid $600 for a non-refundable ticket. My best man Trevor, who'd planned this epic bachelor party in Vegas that was supposed to happen this weekend. What the hell, man? I put down deposits for everything. My grandma Ruth, who was looking forward to seeing me get married before she kicked the bucket. Her words. Matthew, does this mean I return the china set I bought you to? I kept the receipt just in case. I've been married 3 times, so I know how these things go. I texted Cindy back, thanks for telling me. Honestly, did Lucy know you were sending this? She replied quickly, no way. Natalie would kill me. She's been telling Lucy that she deserves to explore all her options before settling down. Natalie's been bad-mouthing you for years, convinced Lucy she was rushing into marriage. Great. So while I was picking out wedding cake flavors, my fiancé was being poisoned against me by her toxic friend and reconnecting with her ex. Cool. Then there was the ring. 1.5 carat cushion cut. Vintage inspired. Her dream ring. Cost me $15,000. I took it to a jeweler and got $9,800. Less than I hoped, more than I feared. That money went straight into offsetting my losses, which were still massive. The jeweler, an older guy named Saul, gave me this knowing look when I brought it in. Let me guess. She changed her mind? When I nodded, he sighed. Happens more than you'd think. Had a guy in here last week selling a ring he bought 3 years ago. Found out his wife was having an affair with her CrossFit instructor. Life's a bitch, kid. I packed up every single thing of hers in my apartment. Photos, clothes, that stupid carnival teddy bear I won her. Boxed, labeled. Ready for whenever she decided to show her face again. Found one of those self-love crystals in my drawer too. The kind that supposedly wards off bad energy. Guess it expired before she ran off with her ex. Should have taped it to the door as a boomerang gift. I also printed that picture Cindy sent and tucked it into the box with our wedding invitations. A little time capsule of betrayal. Luke helped me pack her stuff. He picked up a framed photo of us and snorted. Look at your face here. That's the face of a man who doesn't know his fiancée is about to pull a Houdini. Should have seen it coming when she put that live laugh love sign in your bathroom. While sorting through her things, I found a journal she'd left behind. I'm not usually the type to snoop, but given the circumstances, I figured all bets were off. Flipping through it, I found entries from 3 months ago, where she'd written about seeing Jake at a coffee shop by coincidence, and how it had stirred up old feelings that she needed to process. There were pages about Natalie encouraging her to explore these emotions before getting married. Reading those words felt like being stabbed repeatedly. She'd been planning this. It wasn't some sudden cold feat. It was a calculated decision to test drive her ex before committing to me. And Natalie, that manipulative snake, had been the architect of it all. I added the journal to the box of her things. Evidence. Not that I needed it for myself. The picture from Cindy was damning enough, but in case anyone tried to spin this narrative that I was the bad guy in this situation. Day 4 of Ghost Bride Saga, still no direct contact from Lucy. Her parents are now calling me, demanding to know why I'm canceling everything without giving her a chance to explain. I tell them their daughter is at Natalie's house, deliberately ignoring my calls, and has effectively abandoned our wedding. I don't mention Jake. Not my story to tell. Her dad, Christopher, actually has the audacity to say, young people get cold feet sometimes. It's normal. Lucy's always been sensitive. You should be more understanding. Understanding? I literally had to file a missing persons report because your daughter couldn't be bothered to send a text before running off with her ex a week before our wedding. But sure, I'm the unreasonable one. 5 days of silence. Nothing from Lucy. Then the other shoe drops. I'm at work, middle of a client meeting. My colleague Nancy pokes her head in. Matthew? Sorry. Visitor says it's urgent. I walk out to reception, and there she is. Lucy, puffy eyes, messy hair, looking like she's been crying for a week. Matthew, she says, voice all thick with tears. Tries to step in for a hug. I step back. What are you doing here? I keep my voice low. Nancy at the desk is suddenly very interested in her computer screen. We need to talk, she whispers, tears welling up. Please, it's all been a horrible mistake. A mistake? Ghosting me and your family a week before our wedding to hook up with your ex is a mistake? Forgetting to buy milk is a mistake. This was a tactical nuclear strike on our relationship. I know. I freaked out. I got scared. Natalie said some things and I just panicked. I didn't know how to face you. I was ashamed. Matthew, I still love you. I want to fix this. She reaches for my hand. I pull away. Fix this? I say, disbelief in my voice. Lucy, there's nothing to fix. It's done. I canceled everything. Wedding's off. Permanently. Her face crumples, then morphs into something harder. You can't do that without consulting me. That was our wedding. Those were our plans. Plans you abandoned when you disappeared. I needed space. Her voice rising now. And closure. You never understood that. Always hovering, always wanting to know where I was. Now I'm the controlling boyfriend for checks notes, wondering where my fiancé vanished to a week before our wedding. And what about Natalie? I asked, watching her reaction. Will she be at the rebooked wedding too? Lucy's eyes widened slightly. Natalie was just trying to help me sort through my feelings. She's always looked out for me. Yeah, I bet she has, I said flatly. Your feelings seem to have led you to some interesting places. She looked confused for a second, then quickly recovered. I just needed time to think, to be sure. You owe me that, at least? After 5 years together, you owe me the chance to explain. I don't owe you anything, Lucy. You're being completely unreasonable, she snapped, mask slipping. This isn't all about you. I've been under so much pressure with the wedding planning. You try dealing with all the expectations. It's not fair. Translation. Jake wasn't interested in rekindling things, so I'm her backup plan. No thanks. The way she was acting, you'd think she was the one who'd been abandoned. Like I had somehow wronged her by having the audacity to cancel a wedding after the bride went AWOL. It was next-level delusional. Nancy was pretending not to listen, but I could see her eyes getting wider with each exchange. Tomorrow's office gossip was writing itself right in front of her. Lucy, I'm in the middle of a client meeting. I can't do this right now. Of course, she sniffed. Your work is always more important than our relationship. I nearly laughed out loud at the absurdity. Our relationship? The one you put on pause while you went for a test drive with your ex? That relationship? Her face went pale. What are you talking about? I didn't... Save it, Lucy. I know about Jake. The look on her face was priceless. Shock, followed by guilt, followed by the desperate calculation of someone trying to figure out how much I knew and how to spin it. That's that's not what it looks like, she stammered. Jake and I just talked. As friends. Natalie thought it would help give me perspective. Perspective on what? Whether you were settling for me? Whether he was a better option? Did you get your answer, by the way? Because it seems like you're back here, which suggests Jake wasn't interested in round two. Tears started streaming down her face again. Right on cue. You're being cruel. I made a mistake. I was confused and scared and… Lucy, I sold the ring. You're wasting our time. That stopped her. Her jaw literally dropped like in those cartoon movies. You what? Sold it. As I said, I lost over $15,000 in non-refundable deposits. The $9,800 from the ring barely made a dent, but it was necessary. You sold my ring? Her voice rising. That was my ring! My grandmother's setting was the inspiration. How could you? Your ring. I bought it for a wedding that you abandoned. It was a symbol of a commitment that you spat on. Inspiration doesn't make it an heirloom when I paid for it. But the money, she sputtered. What about it? It partially covered the venue, caterer, honeymoon, consequences of your actions, which still left me massively out of pocket. She just stared at me. You have to give it to me. That money is partly mine. We were getting married. We were. Past tense. No, I don't have to do anything except protect myself from further damage. My boss walks out, drawn by her rising voice. Everything all right, Matthew? Personal matter, Mr. Donaldson. Being resolved, I say, giving Lucy the get-out look. Lucy actually appeals to my boss. He sold my engagement ring and canceled our wedding without talking to me, she wails. Mr. Donaldson looks uncomfortable as hell. I'm sure he wasn't expecting to deal with relationship drama today. Lucy, this is inappropriate. Leave now, I say, trying to keep my voice level. But Matthew, our families, the deposits my parents paid. Your parents paid for your dress, which I assume you still have. They were supposed to pay the florist directly, but they hadn't when I had to cancel. I got stuck with their $1,400 cancellation fee because I made the initial booking. That added to my already huge losses. I have receipts for everything. You can discuss those charges with your parents. She looked slapped, ugly crying now. I made a mistake. Don't I deserve compassion? I leaned in slightly and lowered my voice. Compassion? Maybe explain why you needed closure with Jake at Natalie's place. You've been spying on me? She hissed, completely ignoring everything else I said. I didn't need to spy. People talk, Lucy. Not everyone thinks what you did was okay. She switched tactics so fast it gave me whiplash. I've been through trauma, Matthew. Do you have any idea what it's like to have anxiety about commitment? I'm suffering here. You're trying to punish me for having a mental health crisis. Oh, great. Now she's weaponizing mental health. Classic. This isn't finished, she said, gathering what little dignity she had left. You'll be hearing from my lawyer about that ring money. Oh, it definitely is, I replied. In the immortal words of Terminator 2, hasta la vista, baby. Nancy actually snorted behind her computer as Lucy stormed out, nearly tripping over a plant. Mr. Donaldson, to his credit, just gave me a sympathetic nod and said, Take the rest of the day if you need it, Matthew. I declined. Work was actually the one place where I could focus on something other than the dumpster fire my personal life had become. Later, when I told Luke about the workplace ambush, he nearly fell off his chair laughing. She showed up at your job? That's some gone girl shit right there. Next thing you know, she'll be writing a memoir called My Escape from Patriarchy: How I Survived a Week at My Friend's House with My Ex-Boyfriend. The audacity is what gets me, I told him. She acts like I'm the villain for canceling a wedding she abandoned. Like I should have just sat around, twiddling my thumbs, waiting for her to decide if she wanted to be with me or Jake. Women, man, Luke said, shaking his head. My ex-wife pulled something similar. Told me she needed to find herself, and went on a yoga retreat in Bali. Came back 3 weeks later with a tattoo and a Brazilian surfing instructor named Paulo. Said she wanted an open marriage. I told her she could have an open divorce instead. That night, I checked my email to find a message from a lawyer named Gerald, claiming to represent Lucy in the matter of unlawfully disposed property, aka the ring. He was demanding I return the full value of $15,000, not the $9,800 I got for it, plus emotional damages of $5,000. I forwarded it to my cousin Jen, who happens to be a lawyer, with the subject line, Can you believe this shit? She called me 10 minutes later, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Is this for real? She's trying to sue you for selling a ring after she ghosted you before the wedding? And she wants emotional damages? What's her claim? That you deprived her of the opportunity to pawn it herself. Apparently it has a sentimental value, I said, mimicking Lucy's whiny voice. Yeah, well, sentimentality doesn't hold up in court, Jen said. Engagement rings are conditional gifts, contingent upon marriage. No marriage, no entitlement to the ring. Basic contract law. I'll draft a response that'll make this Pinkman guy crawl back under his ambulance chasing rock. That night, Lucy's mom calls. Let's call her Karen, you'll know why. Karen has always been concerned with appearances. Polite but judgmental as hell. The type who'd smile while insulting your entire existence. She once asked me if I was comfortable in my limited career, or if I had aspirations. Classic Karen. Matthew, she begins, fake sweetness dripping. Lucy is beside herself, distraught. I can imagine, I say dryly. Screaming in someone's workplace is tiring. Sharp intake of breath. Now you listen here, young man. I will not tolerate that tone. My daughter is the injured party in all this. How rich. She made a mistake, yes, but your response has been completely disproportionate. Selling her ring? Canceling everything without consulting anyone? Do you know how this makes our family look? And there it was. Not concerned about her daughter's behavior, just how it looks. She had the audacity to suggest Lucy's amends should involve me reinstating the wedding and returning ring money. When I called this delusional, she pivoted to sentimental value arguments about the ring design, a design picked from a catalog. Karen reminded me they'd paid for Lucy's dress and given us $5,000 for the honeymoon. I explained that money went to the non-refundable Maldives resort Lucy insisted on. I had receipts and bank statements to prove it. Improper for you to have kept that money. I'll be speaking to our attorney about this, she threatened. God, they're all lawyer happy. When I detailed the florist cancellation fee I'd covered when they defaulted on their portion, Karen exploded. Outrageous! You're trying to extort us. I want to speak to your parents about this immediately. They need to know what kind of son they raised. Her defense reached peak absurdity when she claimed, Lucy just got scared. Young girls do these things. I myself had doubts before marrying Christopher. It's perfectly normal. She's 29, Karen, not 19. Decent people don't do these things. I almost mentioned Jake and Natalie, but held back. If Lucy hadn't told them, I wasn't going to be the one to drop that bomb. Let her deal with her own mess. This went on. Astounding entitlement. She genuinely believed because Lucy was sorry, a sorry I hadn't heard meaningfully, all burdens should vanish or be mine. She even suggested I apologize to Lucy for selling her ring. You need to do the right thing here, Matthew. Lucy is willing to forgive you if you apologize and replace the ring. She's being very generous considering how you've embarrassed her. I was tempted to say, you know what? I'll give her the ring money when she pays for the trust issues I'll have for the rest of my life. But I kept it professional. Luke's response when I told him about Karen's call. Wait, so her daughter disappears for a week before your wedding, hooks up with her ex, then comes crying back when he doesn't want her, and you're supposed to apologize? What's next? You gonna write her a thank you note for destroying your life? These people live in a different reality, bro. Honestly, Luke should start a podcast. Just him roasting relationship disasters and bad in-laws. Call it No Ring, No Refund. I'd subscribe twice. Karen's call was just the beginning. The next day, Lucy's dad, Christopher, hit me with an email that somehow managed to be even more condescending. He went full man-to-man mode, claiming we needed to resolve this like gentlemen. According to him, Lucy was just overwhelmed by wedding planning. The nerve of this dude suggesting I should forgive a momentary lapse in judgment blew my mind. Momentary? She ghosted everyone for over a week. These people were living in some parallel universe where disappearing before your wedding was just a quirky personality trait. Unreal. I kept my response short and sweet. A single line promising a comprehensive breakdown of all wedding-related expenses. Then Lucy's sister Ashley called. Ashley had always been the reasonable one in the family. Matt, I'm so sorry about all this. I know Lucy messed up big time. Mom and Dad are being ridiculous. Thanks, Ashley. That means a lot. For what it's worth, I don't think she deserves another chance. Who does that to someone they supposedly love? And a week before the wedding? It's insane. At least someone in that family had their head screwed on straight. But Lucy's parents continued harassing me. So I sent one message to Karen. I'm sending you, Christopher, and Lucy an itemized list of all wedding-related expenses that I managed or was left responsible for. It will clearly show who these costs were originally owed by or who caused the loss. It will show that no one's profiting, least of all me, and will clearly state the $1,400 florist bill I covered on your behalf. Reimburse me or not. Your choice. But further demands will get a cease and desist from an attorney. Clear? Dead quiet. Then, You wouldn't dare. Do you know who Christopher's golf buddies are? We have connections in this town. Classic Karen threat. Try me. Hung up. Not pleasant, but rage was a clean fire. They thought they could bully me into paying for Lucy's enormous mistake. Next day, I did it. Created a meticulous spreadsheet. Every vendor, every deposit, dates, scanned receipts. Highlighted the florist cancellation fee I was forced to cover. Attached ring sale proof and how that only partially offset my losses. I debated whether to include the photo Cindy sent me. In the end, I decided against it. My goal wasn't nuclear warfare, just establishing boundaries and facts. But I did save that in case things escalated. 3 copies. Registered mail, return receipt. For Lucy, for her parents. Luke looked over the spreadsheet before I sent it. Damn, bro. This is the most beautiful screw you I've ever seen. It's like poetry, but with numbers. Brings a tear to my eye. Then I texted Cindy, "Hey, just wanted to say thanks again for being honest with me. Has there been any fallout your end?" She replied, "Natalie's been sketchy, knows someone told you something." Lucy moved out yesterday after a big fight with Natalie. Apparently, Jake made it clear he was just having fun, wasn't interested in getting back together. Natalie told Lucy she deserved better than both of you. Toxic AF. The irony? Natalie blew up Lucy's life just to prove some twisted point, then kicked her out the moment things got inconvenient. Loyalty? Sponsored by TikTok therapy and $12 iced lattes. So Lucy wasn't even staying with Natalie anymore. After her office stunt, the falling out with Natalie, and the rejection from Jake, she was back with her parents. My spreadsheet landed mid-reunion. The next day, I'm at work. Long day at a construction site. I get home around 7 p.m., and immediately something feels off. The air smells different, like her perfume. Lucy had been there. I'd texted her earlier that she could pick up her stuff from the boxes in the living room while I was at work. Just grab it and go. I'd leave the door unlocked between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Turns out she'd waited until later. I walk into my office and freeze. My custom gaming PC, the one I'd built myself, spent thousands on, the thing that got me through college, is absolutely destroyed. The tower is on the floor, side panel bashed in, components scattered. Someone had clearly taken a hammer or bat to it. Water from the cooling system is pooled on the floor. My hands are shaking as I pick up a piece of the graphics card. A $1,200 RTX card I'd saved for months to buy. Snapped in half. There's a note stuck to my monitor. Now we're even. L. Even. I'm seeing red but force myself to think. First, I called my neighbor Jeff. He's got one of those Ring doorbells that faces my place. I asked if his doorbell camera caught anyone coming to my place today. Yeah, actually. Your girlfriend stopped by around 5:30. Thought that was odd since, ex-fiance. And yeah, it is odd. Any chance you could send me that footage? Sure thing, man. The footage shows Lucy clear as day, walking into my apartment at 5:38 p.m., carrying what looks like a small sledgehammer. WTF? She leaves at 5:52 p.m., looking smug. Brother She left my place like she just dropped the hottest diss track of the year, like Kanye storming out of an interview. Meanwhile, I'm standing over my graphics card like it's a war crime scene. I take photos of everything. The damage, the note, close-ups of the broken components. Then I text Lucy, "Why the fuck did you destroy my PC?" 3 dots appear immediately. She's been waiting for this. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? So that wasn't you entering my apartment with a hammer at 5:38 p.m. today? Silence for a minute. Then, you deserved it after what you did to me? Gotcha. Screenshot saved. What exactly did I do to deserve $3,000 worth of property damage? You humiliated me. You destroyed our future. You sold my ring. And that justifies criminal destruction of property? Great. Thanks for the confession. The police will be interested in that, along with my neighbor's security footage. You wouldn't dare. It would be your word against mine. I send her the screenshot of her own confession. It's not your word against mine when you just admitted to it in writing. Plus, I have video of you entering with a weapon. I filed a police report about the PC. Had to go through small claims court to get the money for the damages. But with the evidence I had, it was pretty straightforward. Lucy tried to fight it, claiming I had emotionally damaged her. But the judge wasn't buying it. Ordered her to pay $2,800 for the PC Plus court costs. It's been a few months now. Life just keeps going. After I sent that financial truth bomb and won the small claims case, things settled into silence. Blessed, golden silence. No more calls from Karen, no tearful ambushes from Lucy. I never got the $1,400 for the florist. Knew I wouldn't. Prying money from self-righteous Karen would be like baptizing a cat. But the principle was asserted. The spreadsheet detailed my complete financial burden, including covering their lapse. Lucy did pay the $2,800 for my PC, though. The court gave her 30 days, and on day 29, a check arrived. No note, just the exact amount. Small victories. What I did get was this gem from Ashley about a month ago. You are not going to believe this. Or maybe you will. Lucy tried to get mom and dad to pay for a healing retreat for her trauma from the wedding cancellation and the legal persecution. $3,000. Dad actually said no. Flat out said her healing could start with getting a job and paying back the deposits. They did lose on her dress and alterations. Mom's giving Dad the silent treatment. Lucy's having a hysterical circus. That right there was better than any $1,400. Entitlement hitting the family brick wall. Christopher finding his voice. Even better, Ashley dropped this bomb. By the way, Cindy sent that picture of Lucy and Jake to Mom. Said she couldn't stand the lies anymore. Mom confronted Lucy. It was apocalyptic. Lucy tried to say it was innocent, just closure. But Mom wasn't buying it. Dad actually packed a bag and went to stay with my uncle for 3 days. First time I've ever seen him walk out. Luke and I were playing Call of Duty on my new PC, upgraded thanks to Lucy's court-ordered payment, when I told him about the healing retreat. He nearly choked on his drink. A healing retreat? For what? Terminal entitlement? Advanced narcissism? I swear these people think reality is optional. What's next? A GoFundMe for her emotional support unicorn? My life's good now. Sold our couch, bought a new one just for me. Reclaimed my space. Gym regularly. Works solid. Mr. Donaldson even gave me a promotion after seeing how I handled the Lucy situation at the office. Dating? Hell no. My brother's take your time, bro. You just dodged a bullet that would have made Neo from the Matrix proud. Enjoy the freedom. She faced consequences of her choices. As my dad always says, the best revenge is living well. She made her bed. Now she's lying in it with her parents, complaining. I'm sleeping just fine in my drama-free apartment, playing Elden Ring on my upgraded PC that Lucy involuntarily helped finance. No random sobbing. No can we talk? Texts at 2 a.m. No stepping on hair clips in the bathroom. Just me, my controller, a stocked fridge, and the satisfying hum of a GPU that didn't cheat on me. As the great poet Ice Cube once said, today was a good day. Story 6. Dumped my fiancée after she sent me to jail on false charges to defend her alcoholic friend? Man, I just need to vent. You know when everything seems fine, but then it just isn't? So, I'm 28, and I was engaged to this girl, Emma. She's 25, and we've been together for 5 years now. We even got engaged like 2 weeks ago. I thought everything was going smooth, you know? But wow, things turned upside down in a way I did not expect. So, about 3 weeks ago, I come home from work. It was a long-ass day, and I was exhausted. You know how it is. I just wanted to chill, maybe watch something, relax. Anyway, I walk in, and Emma's sitting at the dining table with her buddy, Dan. Now, Dan's been around forever. Like, they've been friends since they were little kids or whatever, so I don't think anything of it. I kiss Emma on the cheek, say hi, and give Dan a fist bump. I ask if he's doing okay, just being polite, right? Dan's not one to turn down chilling, but this time, he just looks all serious and says, "Nah, man, I'm good. I actually need to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this must be serious." I look at Emma, and she's got this kind of serious face on too. So I sit down with them, like, "All right, what's going on?" Emma then says, "Dan's going through a rough time." She starts explaining that Dan lost his job and his place to live, and now he's got nowhere to go. You know, typical sob story. I mean, I felt bad for the guy, but I'm thinking, what's this got to do with me? Then she drops it on me. I was thinking maybe Dan could stay with us for a few weeks, just until he gets back on his feet. Now listen, I'm not heartless. I've known Dan a while, and it's not like I have anything against the guy. So I said, yeah, it's cool. But I made it clear. I told him straight up. As long as you help out around the house, it's fine. Just don't make a mess and contribute when you can. He seemed super grateful, like he even got up and gave me a big hug, thanking me over and over. The first week, it was fine, like totally fine. Dan was keeping to himself mostly, and he was even doing chores. It was actually kind of nice to have someone else around to help out with stuff, and he didn't complain or anything. We'd watch some TV and everything seemed chill. I was even thinking, man, maybe this won't be so bad after all. But then, man, things started going downhill. Fast. The second week, I start noticing stuff around the apartment. Little things, but they add up, you know? Like his dirty clothes would just be lying around. Not just in his room, but like in the living room, under the couch cushions, socks, shirts, whatever. And it started to get annoying, so I talked to him, being all polite about it. Hey man, can you clean up after yourself a bit more? This is still our place, you know? He apologized, said he was sorry, promised to do better. I figured that was the end of it, but nope, things got worse. Fast forward a few days, I'm going to the bathroom one morning and, not to be gross, but the toilet was nasty. There was dried up vomit on the seat, like he had puked and didn't even bother cleaning up. I couldn't believe it. Who does that? At this point, I'm realizing something's off with Dan. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I started noticing more and more. His room started to stink, and his attitude shifted. He was always tired, moody, just off. I confronted Emma about it, asking if she's noticed, and she brushes it off like it's no big deal. He's going through a rough time, she kept saying. Yeah, okay, but so are we if he's trashing the place. And then, it got to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. I came home from work one day, and I swear the whole apartment smelled bad. I could already feel my blood boiling as I walked down the hallway to the guest room, knowing exactly what I was about to find. I barged into the room, and there's Dan, just lying on the bed. The place was a mess, clothes everywhere. And the smell, man, it was like he hadn't cleaned the room in days. I completely lost it. I started yelling at him, telling him he needed to clean up, contribute, or he's out. No more playing nice. I gave him 2 days to clean up his act or leave. Emma, of course, tries to calm me down, saying I'm overreacting, but I wasn't having it. I'd been patient enough, and he was totally taking advantage of the situation. And you know what he does? Instead of apologizing, this guy stands up, and I swear, he just lunges at me. Like out of nowhere, full-on attacks me. I didn't even have time to react. Next thing I know, I'm slammed into the wall, and everything goes black. When I came to, there were flashing lights everywhere. It took me a second to realize it wasn't a dream. 2 cops were standing over me, one shining a flashlight right in my face, and I could hear Emma's voice in the background. I tried to sit up, but my head was pounding like crazy, and I felt so disoriented. The cop helps me up, and I ask, "What the hell's going on?" He tells me that they got a call from Emma saying I'd gotten violent and attacked her and Dan. I'm like, what the hell? I attacked them. That didn't even make sense. But they weren't interested in my side of the story. They grabbed me, dragged me outside, and all I could see was Emma and Dan talking to the cops like they were the victims. I barely remember getting into the squad car, but I do remember looking at Emma, and she wouldn't even look at me. She just stood there next to Dan, looking all upset, like I was the problem. I felt like I was living in some nightmare. Everything was a blur after that. I don't even remember much of the drive to the station. All I know is I ended up in a holding cell, my head pounding, not sure how the hell this all went down so fast. So there I was, sitting in the holding cell, head pounding, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. I still couldn't believe it. One minute I'm in my own home, and the next, I'm getting hauled away like a criminal. I kept replaying the scene in my head. Emma called the cops on me? For what? Because I told Dan to clean up his act or leave? None of it made sense. I was stuck in that damn cell for hours. Nobody told me anything, and the whole time I was just stewing in my anger. I couldn't stop thinking about how I was the one who got knocked out, yet somehow I was the bad guy. When they finally let me go, they acted like they were doing me a favor. "You're lucky we're not pressing charges," one of the cops said. Charges? For what? I didn't even do anything. Anyway, I called my dad to come pick me up. I wasn't about to go back to the apartment just yet. I needed some time to cool down and process everything. My dad, of course, had a million questions, but I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. All I told him was that I needed a ride and that Emma and Dan had basically turned on me. He could tell something serious had gone down, but he didn't push. The whole drive, my mind was racing. How could Emma do this to me? We've been together for 5 years, 5 damn years, and she pulls this? It wasn't like we had some perfect fairy tale relationship or whatever, but I thought we were solid. This wasn't just some minor argument. This was betrayal, pure and simple. She had my back for 5 years, and now suddenly Dan shows up, and she sides with him? Over me? I just couldn't wrap my head around it. When I got back to my dad's place, I crashed on the couch. I didn't have the energy to explain everything yet, and honestly, I didn't even know how to. What was I supposed to say? "Oh, hey, Dad, guess what? My fiancée called the cops on me because her loser friend decided to throw me into a wall." Yeah, that would go over well. After a couple of days, I decided I needed to get my stuff from the apartment. I wasn't planning on sticking around to have another confrontation with Emma. I was done with her. But of course, when I get there, she's sitting on the couch like nothing happened. I swear my blood was boiling the second I saw her. She had the nerve to try and act all sad, with her eyes red and puffy like she'd been crying nonstop. But to me, it was just an act. Before I could even say anything, she jumps up and starts talking, trying to explain herself. Joe, please, just listen to me. I didn't know what else to do. Dan was panicking, and I cut her off right there. I don't want to hear it, Emma. You had a choice, and you chose Dan. Over me. What else is there to say? She kept begging, but I was done. I told her to pack her stuff and leave. I didn't even care about the details anymore. I just wanted her out of my life. She tried pulling the whole, but I still love you card. But at that point, it didn't mean anything to me. Love doesn't involve calling the cops on your partner and lying to protect someone else. That's not love. That's betrayal. It took everything in me not to lose my cool again. I mean, seriously, how does someone you trust for 5 years turn on you like that? I had spent so much time thinking we were building something real, something solid, but clearly I was wrong. I told her to get her stuff and get out, and she did, but not without trying to plead her case a million more times. Once she was gone, I thought maybe I'd feel some relief. Like, okay, the toxic part of this situation is out of the picture. But honestly, I just felt empty. I sat there, in my own apartment, wondering how the hell it all fell apart so quickly. I started doubting everything, our entire relationship, the engagement, all of it. Had she been lying to me this whole time? Was Dan always more important than me? Then a few days later, Emma started blowing up my phone again. At first I ignored it, but after the 50th missed call, I figured I'd hear what she had to say. She's crying again, telling me how she's sorry, how she didn't mean for any of this to happen. She told me she panicked when Dan knocked me out and that she didn't want him to get in trouble because he was already on probation. Apparently, they thought it would be easier to lie and say I was the one who attacked them. Yeah, because that makes so much sense, right? I didn't even know what to say to that. Easier? Easier for who? It sure as hell wasn't easier for me. I spent the night in jail because of their lies. I got knocked unconscious in my own home and somehow I'm the bad guy? She tried to explain how it was all just a mistake, how they panicked in the moment. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. I hung up on her after that. I couldn't listen to any more of her excuses. I didn't want to hear about how she didn't mean to hurt me. Because at the end of the day, she did hurt me. And the worst part, she didn't even seem to realize how deep that cut went. That night, I got hit with the worst headache I've ever had. I was throwing up, dizzy, couldn't even stand up without feeling like I was going to pass out. So I went to the hospital, and guess what? Concussion. They told me I'd probably been concussed the night Dan knocked me out, but because I didn't get checked out right away, I made it worse by not resting. So now I'm stuck at home for at least a month, and all I can do is think about what a mess my life has become. I lost my fiancé, my trust in someone I thought I loved, and now I'm physically wrecked because of the whole thing. And the cherry on top? Emma keeps trying to come over, leaving messages saying she wants to talk. But what is there to talk about? She made her choice. She lied to protect Dan. Now I'm just here trying to figure out how the hell to move forward from this. Do I completely ghost her? Do I give her the closure she's begging for? Part of me wants to just disappear and never hear from her again. But another part of me, the part that still loves her, can't help but feel like I need to do something. But what? Update 1. It's been about a week since everything went down. I've been stuck at home, recovering from this damn concussion. And let me tell you, being trapped in your own head with nothing but your thoughts and a messed up relationship to dwell on is not the kind of rest I needed. So Emma's still been trying to reach out like constantly. It's getting ridiculous. I've got messages from her mom, her sister, all saying how sorry she is and how she just wants to see me and explain everything. But at this point, what's left to explain? She already told me the worst of it, right? But every time I ignore her, I feel this weird pit in my stomach. Like I'm questioning if maybe I'm making the wrong call. You ever get that feeling where you know something's the right move, but it still eats at you? Anyway, a few days ago, I get this text from her mom. And this is where things take a pretty messed up turn. Her mom tells me Emma tried to overdose on painkillers. Yeah, I know. That hit me like a brick. She said Emma was in the hospital and that she was asking to see me. My first reaction? Honestly, I felt guilty. I mean, I ghosted her for a week straight and now she's in the hospital. But then the anger kicked in. Was this another way to get sympathy? I know that sounds harsh, but after what she did, lying to the cops, throwing me under the bus for Dan of all people, I couldn't help but question everything she says or does now. I kept thinking, is this just some play to make me feel like I'm the one at fault? Or was she really at that low point? I didn't text her mom back right away. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the message. My mind was going a million miles an hour. A part of me wanted to rush to the hospital to check on her, see if she was okay, but another part of me, the part that's still pissed and hurt, wanted to stay as far away from that whole mess as possible. What would even happen if I went? Would it just be another round of excuses and I didn't mean to from Emma? Or would I find out that she really was sorry, that she really did hit rock bottom? So I talked to my mom. She's been staying with me while I recover, helping me out and all that. She's been amazing through this whole thing, honestly. She asked me how I was feeling, and I straight up told her about the text from Emma's mom. And you know what my mom said? She told me I needed to think long and hard before making any decisions, that I should be careful with whatever move I make next. But she also reminded me that Emma's actions have consequences, that what she did wasn't just a little mistake, it was something huge, and it nearly ruined my life. She told me that if I do decide to see her, I need to be sure I'm ready for whatever comes next. It's not just a visit, it's a choice that could open up old wounds and drag me right back into the chaos I'm trying to escape from. That's the part that got me. My mom's always been the rational one, and when she said that, I knew she was right. I wasn't ready to face Emma again. Not yet. Not when I'm still piecing my life back together. So I decided to stay home, ignore the texts, and keep focusing on healing, physically and mentally. But it's not that easy. Every day I wake up and check my phone, wondering if I'm going to get another update from her mom, wondering if Emma's okay, if she's still in the hospital, or if she's moved on from this whole thing. I keep thinking back to all the good times we had, the 5 years we spent together before everything fell apart. It's like this constant battle in my head between what I know I should do and what my heart still feels for her. Then, yesterday something else happened. Out of the blue, Dan sends me a message. Can you believe that? After everything, this guy has the nerve to text me. I almost threw my phone across the room when I saw his name pop up. But instead, I opened the message. It was short and to the point. Hey man, I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I hope you can forgive me. Forgive him? I read that message over and over, and all I could think was, are you kidding me? This dude knocked me out, got me arrested, and now he wants my forgiveness? For what? Because he didn't mean to hurt me? What does that even mean? You don't accidentally ram someone into a wall and leave them unconscious. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. I didn't respond. I couldn't. There was nothing I could say to him that wouldn't just make me even angrier. So I blocked his number and tried to move on. But his message still bugs me. It's like he's trying to get off the hook with a half-assed apology, like that'll somehow make everything okay again. And Emma? She's still out there, waiting for me to reach out, waiting for me to come to the hospital and see her. And I'm just here, stuck in the middle of this whole mess, trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do next. Do I let them back into my life or do I walk away for good? Because right now, all I feel is this mix of anger, sadness, and, yeah, I'll admit it, guilt. As much as I don't want to admit it, I still care about Emma. And that's the hardest part. I can't just switch that off, even after everything she's done. But caring about her doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change the fact that she lied to the cops and put me in jail. It doesn't change the fact that Dan, her so-called friend, attacked me in my own home, and she did nothing to stop it. And it sure as hell doesn't change the fact that I'm sitting here, alone, with a concussion, while they get to move on with their lives. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've got no clue what the next step is, but I know one thing for sure. I'm not rushing back into anything. I've been burned once, and I'm not about to let it happen again. But damn, man, I just wish things didn't have to be this complicated. Update 2. Alright, so things took another wild turn. I thought I was done dealing with all this crap, but guess what? Turns out, life had other plans. I've been lying low, trying to figure out what to do next. I mean, the whole situation still has me all twisted up. But just when I thought I could get some peace, another bomb drops. Not literally, but you get what I mean. A few days after Dan's pathetic apology, I'm at home, minding my own business, trying to recover. My head still isn't right from the concussion, and every little thing feels like a damn chore. You know how it is when you're stuck at home with nothing to do but overthink everything. So I'm sitting there, and my phone starts buzzing again. At first I was like, nope, not dealing with this. But then I see the name on the screen. It wasn't Emma, her mom, or Dan. It was someone I wasn't expecting at all. It was Emma's sister, Lucy. Now, Lucy and I have never been super close. We got along fine, but she wasn't really part of my life outside of family get-togethers or holidays. So, for her to text me out of the blue? Yeah, that raised a red flag. I open the message and it says something like, "Hey Joe, I need to talk to you. It's about Emma. Please don't ignore me." I wasn't in the mood for more drama, but Lucy wasn't the type to stir things up just for the sake of it. So I text her back telling her I'm listening. She hits me with this whole long message about how Emma's not doing well at all, how the overdose wasn't just a cry for help or some ploy to get attention. She tells me Emma's been in a really dark place since I cut her off. and she's barely eating, barely talking to anyone. Apparently, she's seeing a therapist now, and things aren't looking good. I don't know what to do with that information. I mean, yeah, I feel bad, obviously. I don't want to see anyone, let alone someone I spent 5 years with, go through something like that. But at the same time, I keep thinking back to what Emma did. It's not like I can just forget the whole thing and go back to how things were. That's not how it works. Lucy's message keeps going on about how Emma's been trying to make amends, how she's regretting everything, and that she really needs to talk to me. I'm sitting there staring at my phone, wondering if maybe I should just give her a chance to explain herself. But every time I think about it, I remember how betrayed I felt, how she chose Dan over me in the moment that mattered most. That's not something you can easily get past. So I ask Lucy straight up, do you think she's being genuine, or is this just another way to get sympathy? I know it sounds harsh, but after everything, I had to ask. Lucy responds pretty quickly, saying, I've never seen her like this, Joe. She's not faking it. She's really struggling, and I think she's realized how much she messed up. That hit me harder than I expected. Like, maybe she really does regret everything, but even if she does that change anything? Can you really forgive someone after something like this? I'm still not sure. So I told Lucy I needed some time to think, and she said she understood, but she hopes I'll talk to Emma soon. Here's the thing. Part of me wants to see her. I want to hear her out, see if she's really sorry or if it's just more excuses. But the other part of me is like, dude, why would you put yourself through that again? I've been going back and forth with myself ever since I got that message. It's like I'm stuck in this loop of wanting to move on, but also feeling like I need some kind of closure. So I tried to distract myself. I went out for a walk, hoping some fresh air would clear my head. But of course, as I'm walking, I run into Dan. Because of course, I do. This guy has the worst timing ever. He's standing there like he's been waiting for me or something. I thought about just walking right past him, but he calls out, Joe, wait! Against my better judgment, I stopped. I didn't want another confrontation, but I wasn't about to run away like a coward either. Dan comes up to me, and before I can even say anything, he starts talking. He's all like, look, man, I know you hate me right now, and I get it. I really screwed up. But I just want to explain myself. I didn't really want to hear his excuses, but I let him talk anyway. He goes on about how he was going through a rough time, how losing his job and getting kicked out of his place messed with his head. He admits that he was out of line, that attacking me was the worst thing he could have done, and that he's been trying to figure out how to make it right. But then, he drops something I wasn't expecting. He tells me that he and Emma haven't spoken since the night I got arrested. Apparently, after I kicked her out, she cut off contact with him too. Dan looked genuinely upset when he told me this, like he actually cared about her and didn't know what to do now that she wasn't speaking to him. I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, on one hand, good. Emma finally realized Dan's a toxic presence in her life. But on the other hand, why didn't she realize that sooner? Why did it take all this chaos for her to see what kind of person Dan really is? I didn't say much to Dan. I just told him, you can't fix this. What's done is done. He looked defeated, like he knew I was right but didn't want to accept it. He said he was sorry again and walked off, leaving me standing there with even more questions than I started with. So now I'm left with this mess. Emma's apparently in a really dark place. Dan's out of the picture. And I'm here, trying to figure out if I should reach out to her or just keep moving on. I don't know what the right thing to do is. Every time I think I've made a decision, something else comes up, and I'm back to square one. It's like, do I want to risk getting hurt again? Or do I just let it all go and focus on myself? I've been trying to weigh the pros and cons, but no matter what, there's no easy answer. Either way, someone gets hurt, whether it's me, Emma, or both of us. So yeah, that's where I'm at, stuck in limbo, unsure of what to do next. Part of me thinks I should just cut ties completely and move on with my life. But another part of me feels like I need to see this through, to find out if Emma really has changed. It's a mess, man, a real mess, and I have no idea how to get out of it. Update 3. So after that run-in with Dan and Lucy's message about Emma, I spent the next couple of days just sitting in my apartment, trying to clear my head. Every time I thought I had things figured out, I'd get stuck again, second-guessing myself. Honestly, it was driving me insane. But then, something happened that I wasn't expecting. Emma reached out to me directly, again. But this time, she sent me a long text instead of calling or showing up at my door. I wasn't sure if I should open it. I stared at my phone for a good 5 minutes, just trying to decide if I even wanted to read it. But curiosity got the best of me, and I opened it. Her message started off with an apology. A real one this time. Not just one of those, I'm sorry, but types of apologies. She said she knew she messed up in ways she couldn't fix. She admitted that choosing Dan over me in that moment was the biggest mistake of her life, and that she doesn't expect me to forgive her. Then she went on to say how lost she's been since everything went down, how she's been trying to make sense of it all. But she realizes now that no amount of excuses can change what happened. I could tell this wasn't some half-assed apology. She was laying it all out there, telling me how she's been going to therapy, trying to figure out why she acted the way she did, and how she's working on herself. Emma said she didn't want to hurt me anymore, and that she wasn't reaching out to beg for me back. She just needed to say her piece. She ended the message by saying she hoped one day I could at least understand why she did what she did, but that she knew we might never be okay again. After reading it, I had to sit down for a minute and just breathe. It's weird, you know? Getting an apology like that after everything that's happened. Part of me felt relieved, like maybe I could finally let go of some of the anger I'd been holding on to. But another part of me was still like, is this enough? Does this really change anything? I didn't respond right away. I needed to think. I mean, yeah, it was a good apology. But did that mean I was ready to talk to her again? Was I ready to open that door? Because once you open it, you can't just close it again, right? That's when things get complicated. Anyway, later that night, I talked to my mom about it. I hadn't told her about the latest text yet, so I filled her in on everything Emma had said. My mom's reaction surprised me a little. She didn't immediately jump to, "You should forgive her," or "You should move on." Instead, she told me something that stuck with me. She said, "Joe, sometimes people do terrible things, but that doesn't mean they're terrible people. You have to decide if this is something you can move past, not for her sake, but for your own." And that got me thinking. I wasn't just holding on to the anger because I didn't want to forgive Emma. I was holding on to it because part of me was scared of what would happen if I did. Like, if I let go of that anger, what's left? How do you move forward when the thing that's been driving you for weeks is suddenly gone? So I sat with that for a while. I didn't respond to Emma's text for a couple of days. I kept reading it over and over, trying to figure out how I felt. And then, one night, something clicked. I realized I wasn't mad anymore. Like, sure, I was still hurt, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon. But the anger? It was gone. I wasn't burning with it like I had been before. It was weird, honestly. I didn't expect to feel that shift, but there it was. That's when I decided to respond to Emma. I kept it short, but I was honest. I told her I appreciated the apology, that I could tell she was being genuine, and that I hoped she was serious about working on herself. I said I didn't know what the future held for us, but that I wasn't ready to completely cut her off. I didn't promise anything. I just left the door cracked open a bit. Her response came almost immediately. She thanked me, said it meant more than I knew, and that she wasn't expecting anything from me. She just wanted me to know she was trying to do better. And honestly, that was enough for me right then. I wasn't ready to dive back into anything, but at least it felt like things were starting to settle. Like maybe, just maybe, I could start to move forward. But just when I thought I had some peace, the universe threw another wrench into things. Out of nowhere, I get a message from Dan. Yep, Dan again. This time, though, it wasn't some half apology or plea for forgiveness. No, this time he sent me this long, rambling message about how he and Emma had been seeing each other behind my back for a while. He said he didn't want to carry the secret anymore, that he felt like he needed to come clean. I couldn't believe it. I mean, yeah, I had my suspicions when everything went down, but to have it confirmed, it was like getting punched in the gut all over again. I sat there, staring at my phone, reading his words over and over. They'd been messing around while I was at work, while I was busting my ass to make sure we had a roof over our heads. And she had the nerve to play the victim, to beg for my forgiveness after everything. At that moment, everything shifted again. The anger came flooding back. Not just at Emma, but at myself, too. How had I been so blind? How had I let them both make a fool out of me like that? I didn't respond to Dan. I couldn't. What was the point? But I did send Emma one final text. It wasn't long, and I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told her I knew about her and Dan, that I knew they'd been lying to me for who knows how long, and that I was done. Really done this time. I told her I didn't need any more explanations or apologies. I just wanted her out of my life for good. She didn't respond. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. And honestly, I think that's for the best. Sometimes things get so broken that there's no fixing them. And I guess this was one of those times. So, yeah, that's where I'm at now. It's over. For real this time. No more what ifs, no more second chances, just me moving forward one step at a time.